Media covers your story will be built from the ground up. King, dominate. He's the one, the only.
All right, so today's guest is somebody who is not shy of giving their opinion, and everybody knows I have an opinion whether you like it or not. She doesn't care either. Actress, comedian, talk show host.
I mean, I have
I'm going to throw it in there because she was real as Welcome, Amanda Seales. You know, well, first of all, how you been?
I'm good. You have to now say radio host since I have a syndicated radio show.
Well, but that's the thing. I literally on the way over here went through the list of how I was going to introduce you. You've done everything.
But it's like what I'm doing now, though.
Okay, syndicated talk show, syndicated radio host. You also are an author. I didn't say that. You're a published author.
Yes.
You've gone on tour, are you on tour now? You're getting ready to go on tour. We're going to talk about all that.
I needed a break.
I know, but we're going to get into the whole break because the energy you came in on was the energy I was on before I started the show. Which is, I think, for me, I call it fatigue. I was fatigued. I was burnt out. It fell into depression, anxiety. I mean,
I've been tiptoeing with depression for the last couple weeks.
Really?
Tiptoeing.
Okay, well, let's go
looking
back.
at it like,
So let's go back. You said you've been SAG since 1994, and you're 4 years younger than me, which means you were a kid.
I'm 4 years younger than you?
Yeah, I'm 45.
Listen, let me tell y'all something about some light-skinned folks. We be getting just enough melanin, just enough to hold on.
Yeah, I mean, we look good. We doing good.
I found 3 gray hairs this morning, and I've only found 1, and I found 3 today.
Did it send you into a spin?
Yes, because I'm bringing it up. So, yes.
You were traumatized. So what is you have issues with aging?
I don't know that I've had issues with aging. I've just been able to stave it off for the most part,
right.
For quite some time. But then it's just one of those things where it's so, when you see a gray hair, that's definitive, you gonna die. Yeah, but it's your mortality. It's less of the aging and more just it's a coming.
Yeah, but 3 gray hairs is not, 3 gray hairs.
I'm exaggerating, but I'm just telling you my experience.
No,
okay.
I'm the
same.
same.
They would have it when you seeing it all at one time, right?
Yeah.
I'm literally doing my makeup wait, because in the past I'm oh, it's blonde. It's blonde.
And now it's aging.
It's aging.
Yeah, I get a haircut and we do a gray hair check at the end of every haircut. I found I had a little gray hair and one of my assistants walked by and goes, "Oh, that's like Superman." That's not funny.
No,
because
that's
Superman,
no.
He's also dead now. I'm going to paint that, and I've actually dyed just the front, just because I had more than 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had a sprout.
I had a little S.
Okay.
A little S curl.
Ooh,
yeah.
That could have been a vibe,
No,
though.
it's 2023. S curls are not in.
Listen, things come and go based on who's doing them.
Okay, wait. So you're 41. You look a lot younger than 41. I'm 45 and look a lot younger than 45. But I too have not issues with aging, but I do have issues with death. If I cough, I think I have lung cancer. If I have a stomach ache, I think it's pancreatic or stomach cancer. I'm really a hypochondriac to the point where I get my blood checked every 4 months. Are you obsessed with aging, death, or are you just kind of riding it out and dealing with the kinks as they come?
I'm riding it out. I'm not afraid of death at all.
Yeah. At all?
I'm afraid of a painful process on the road to it.
Yeah.
But if I left here and got hit by a bus, I'd be it's fine. I did a special, I wrote a book, I bought my mama a house. I did the things I needed to do. I found love.
Yeah, but you still got hit by a bus.
Yeah, but if I die instantly, it's they can watch this episode and be I remember her.
But are you obsessed with how it's going to happen? Do you think about it?
Mm-mm.
No.
I think once you've even toyed with the idea of suicide and gotten through it, you're just whatever comes. But that's also very easy to say when we live in we still live in a somewhat privileged society, right? We are still I can say for myself, I live in a pretty safe neighborhood. I feel at this point in my life, I've managed to avoid a lot of death-defying situations. And so I think that's also part of it. But when you look at the way that now America is in a state where you can just go anywhere and possibly get murked just because you was grocery shopping. It's kind of practical
Yeah.
to be like, whatever happens, happens, or else you'll live in a constant state of anxiety.
But you grew up in Inglewood, and now you live.
I did not. Please don't say that, because they will come for me. They will come for me.
No, but I saw that you grew up in the wood.
I was born. No, I didn't grow up in the wood. I was born in Daniel Freeman Hospital, which was torn down for the stadium. So I was born in Inglewood. I lived there as a baby. Okay.
But you could say you were born in the wood.
I was born in the wood, but if you say you grew up, they're gonna start calling street names.
Really?
And if you can't say the street name, then they be like, she's fraud, you know? That's why y'all shouldn't be listening to her, you know what I'm saying? So let me just be clear.
Wait, then where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Valley.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Because my mom moved because she got robbed. My mom, well, to be clear, I didn't grow up in like a nice part of the Valley.
Right.
Like, I grew up behind a car wash, but nonetheless, like, and across the street from Taco Bell. But like, I mean, I was there when Maxie Melts came out.
But if you say you're from Compton when you just drove through there, or Watts,
it's like
black folks is gonna have a problem with that.
It's like if you're not from DC and you're from Maryland and you say you're from DC, like all of DC is like, you're a fraud. Like, because black folks in America, we really take ownership of where we're from.
Yeah.
So much was taken from us that we really hold on to like any little piece of identity that we can have. And so that's why I feel like people are so possessive, right? About like where they're from, what block they claim, what crew, etc. So for me, I take it I understand that. So I'm not trying to step on nobody's block, you know, with the wrong color zone and not know. So no, I grew up in the Valley by Granada Hills, and then I moved to Orlando, and then I spent like 8 to 18 in Orlando, and then I was in New York till 2015.
And then you came back here.
Yep. And
you like living in LA, because you say you don't live in a dangerous neighborhood. You live near the Kardashians.
Yeah, I mean, I originally lived when I first moved back, I lived in the Valley, and I remember thinking that I lived in a safe neighborhood, and then my mom came to visit, and then she like walked to the grocery store and came back and was like, are you aware of where you're living? I was like, what? Because you know, you get in your car in LA and you just gone.
Yeah.
And she was like, there's a lot of seedy characters around here. And then like once your car gets robbed in the parking lot like 3 times, you're like.
Where you lived?
Where I lived, yes. You're like, maybe this isn't. But I will say that I love LA at this point in my life because I had done everything that I needed to do with New York.
Yeah.
Like when I left New York, it was like good riddance.
Yeah.
You know, there was no, like I feel like I didn't move out here for anybody else but me, or for anything else but me. And just being able to see nature all the time and see the mountains and that, I don't know if I can curse, but.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, listen, by the time, I'm always impressed by people who are in New York after 30, because I feel like your bone density can't even handle it. Like,
but it depends on if you're trekking up and down the subway.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, if you're a real New Yorker, like, not taking the subway in certain instances just seems dumb.
Yeah.
You're like, this doesn't make sense. It's gonna take me 2 hours to get here.
But
like, to this day, I will take the train.
You would?
I do.
Oh, yeah. In New York?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not taking the train up 3 blocks. I'm not messing with the train. The train, people were getting pushed in front of the train. I saw a kid get thrown.
I'm a New Yorker. I'm taking the train.
Yeah, and see,
right?
New Yorkers like the idea of being able to say they survived getting home from work. I don't need that story. I've survived.
Not that. It's
yes.
that New York is a city of efficiency.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. LA is not.
It is not. I agree with that.
New York is a city of efficiency. So in your mind, you're just like, it's completely inefficient and impractical for me to take a cab that's going to cost me more and take longer when I can just take this train.
So my friend sitting over there is from New Jersey, but he lived in New York, and he told me yesterday he hates getting on the train in LA because he feels shameful. Versus New Yorkers will get on the train all day long, or a bus or a shuttle to go to Jersey, and it's just a thing to do.
It's not the same.
Why?
You have great teeth, by the way.
Why is it not the same? What is the train shaming thing?
I don't know that it's a train shaming thing, but I think that at the end of the day, like New York is a city of public transit, and this is not a city of public transit.
But you got to get around how you got to get around. You get a $2 train versus fighting 2 hours of traffic to go to go downtown.
I didn't say it was logical.
Right.
Listen, you wanted an explanation, I gave you
But that's the
one.
weird about LA, because I will say, I even said recently on an interview that LA reshaped my idea of what beauty was until I went to New York and saw, not to say that women in LA aren't real women, but in New York I saw real women with real bodies, real beauty. And it was a reset for me. And that's what I love about New York.
Where are you from?
Stockton, Northern California.
Oh.
Lots of real bodies.
I was gonna
Lots
say.
of real. Them bodies is real, and they real.
Yeah.
Real everything. Rectangular. No, I love Stockton, but yeah.
I mean, I think I always say that New York makes artists, LA makes stars. And I think, that's kind of just a metaphor for what you're talking about, right? Like there's a certain raw grit and realness that happens from coming up in New York that doesn't necessarily happen in the same way here. I'm not saying that you don't got to go through you here already, but if you're somebody who is trying to make it here in the entertainment business, I feel like there's a different expectation from you than when you're in New York.
Yeah.
And that whole like real bodies, real thing, like that advances in New York in a way that fakeness doesn't. Like authenticity wins. I feel like authenticity wins everywhere, but in New York in particular, like you're not gonna crack it if you come through with the fakey wakey.
Right. So what I've always been fascinated with you, besides the fact that you literally will say whatever you think and you get the craziest reaction, which I'm tickled by because I love sharing the space of people getting attacked for just having free thought in America. But I was always fascinated by your journey of blackness, your blackness, because I wasn't aware you had a master's degree in African American studies. Did your journey in becoming so woke or connected to your blackness start with education, your community, or the industry?
I mean, it started at home. I was raised in a black ass home. I mean, Grenada as a country is a black ass country. If you look up, like there's this famous speech that Revolutionary Maurice Bishop of Grenada that he did where he was talking to a whole room of folks about how America was so worried about Grenada having a revolution because unlike Cuba, Grenadians are black and English speaking. Like there are black people in Cuba, but Grenada as a country is a black country and it's all English speaking. So they'd be able to align with the freedom fighters in America in a way that other countries that may have had the same values wouldn't be able to. And I really feel like a lot of people don't understand that about like the islands. Like there's a real great sensibility and pride in like the black folks and being black in these islands. And so like I grew up in that. My mom was always playing Bob Marley and, all types of reggae and all types of, my mom loves pop culture. So I was exposed to just all types of black music. And I mean, this might be woo-woo and, so you could take it or leave it, but I just feel like I've been here before. And so when I got here, like I already knew who I was, which is very discomforting to people who don't know who they are. Because it comes off as arrogance when it's really just like an inner peace.
When you say that, explain what that means for the people who are...
My soul has been here before. Like there's a certain restlessness that you have when you've been here for the first time. Like I have friends and we talk about this and they're like, I'm here for the first time, girl. I'm looking around, I'm saying things. But like, I feel like I always had a connectivity to my blackness. Like I never had to learn it. So that's why it's still to this day so discomforting to me when like people who I feel are community don't see me as community. Cause I'm like, I've never not felt like this about you, And as I went through school and, my mom had me in like even though my mother is from Grenada, like she still understood that I'm in America and the Black America is a different experience. So she had me in like extracurricular activities, the McKnight Achievers in Orlando and, making sure that I'm hanging around black children and I always had a black doll. I mean, my mom went up to a lady in a Walmart parking lot who had a black child in the stroller holding a white doll and was like, why did the child have a white doll? And I'm like, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. And she's like, you have to understand the efforts that I had to go through to get you a black doll.
This is in the parking lot?
Yes. But she's like, I knew that it was so important for you to have black representation that she was like, I really made it my business to find the one black Barbie that would have on the shelf or my Keisha doll, etc. And so that was always apparent. And then I went to...
So is that when you first saw the importance of standing in your blackness, valuing your blackness, acknowledging your blackness?
I would say that I first was able to truly understand that in high school. I was doing that early on because I was in the entertainment business. My first job was at Disney and it was the Sparkling Christmas Spectacular. Must be Santa, must be Santa. And
were you the only black girl doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
And they let me know that at every second that they could.
Did they?
That was my first time experiencing racism. Any second they could. You're only here because you're black. You know, they only passed you because you're black. They wanted a black.
They said that on set?
These are little 10-year-olds in Florida. They raised them racists up early, baby.
Were these Ron DeSantis's grandkids? Or?
I mean, what's sad is that like these are regular, like this is just the surroundings.
Right.
And I remember like we had to do Secret Santa. And my Secret Santa gave me a half-open candy tube with Goofy on the top. And like, I knew innately then,
right.
Oh, this is racist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this gave me a half-open tube of candy from Secret Santa. Like, I knew innately that was racist. Even though no one said it to me, I knew this is racist. There was a little kid named Patrick. You're taking me back. You're taking me back. There was a little kid named Patrick, and I remember I was sitting on my caboodle, and he was sitting across from me, and he kept kicking my caboodle. He's a little blonde, and he kept kicking my caboodle, and I said, "Do it again, and we're gonna have a problem." You know, I give people opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, we're gonna have a problem." And y'all, like, I launched, and like. I had nails at the time, I don't know, I had nails, and I was like, and I like dug into his arm, and he was like, ah! But out the corner of my eye, I saw our chaperone, a sister named Jennifer.
She was smiling.
She let it rock for
she did that for the culture.
She let it. I saw her let it rock, and then be like, okay, let's break it up. But she let me have that. You know. And he was the one who was always like, you're just here because you're black. You're black. And so I think, you know, for a lot of people, they don't understand, like, at that moment in my life, and for those people, I think I was like the darkest version of a person they had seen.
But that's something I can relate to, because in the 7th grade, I had a similar experience where this boy was harassing me for being black. I was in a school with probably 2 other black people in a city called Oakdale. And I remember saying if he did something to me, I was gonna fight him. And he got on the bus and he spit in my face. And it was like this deep loogie spit where he sucked every piece of.
Have you gone to therapy for this?
I've whooped his ass for that.
Yes.
But I remember, and sometimes because I'm gonna go back to what you said earlier about like some people saying, you know, challenging your blackness or whatever, that he saw me as black. I feel like they saw me as black, and now I see me as black, and I love being black, and I'm a champion of black, but I'm constantly fighting with my own people to defend and validate my blackness. What is that?
Oh, that's white supremacy.
But why don't our people see that colorism or whatever that is created by white supremacy?
Because that's not colorism. Colorism only works one direction. You know, that's internal prejudice, right? But colorism only works one direction. Like, there's no reverse colorism. Colorism works in the direction of the darker your skin, the less you're seen as valuable because the further you are away from whiteness.
So when Mariah Carey talked in her book about experiencing, I guess it's prejudice from people who are darker skinned, forcing her to validate her blackness and me feeling that way.
That's up.
Okay.
But it's not colorism.
But it's, okay, so colorism is only one way.
Yes.
Got it.
That is us as black people taking the weight off of white people for making us hate our own community. Mm-hmm. Like, colorism is the responsibility of white people. It's not the responsibility of black people who benefit from it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
In the way that some people give it to us. Now, I will say it's our responsibility to be conscious of when we're benefiting from it and how we can create space. It is absolutely our responsibility. But I think sometimes it gets misappropriated in the sense that there's this idea that all light-skinned people are perpetuating this idea that light skin is better, and that is simply not the case. It's also not true.
Right.
And white supremacy has a very skillful way. It's like, I don't know if you're watching this show, The Last of Us on HBO. It's about zombies who basically there's a pandemic, but the pandemic is fungus, and the fungus grows and it's able to take over people's minds and control them, and it can reach into any crevice and cracks and places. That's what white supremacy does. It's a fungus that has grown and creeped into every crevice and crack and space of this world to control it. And we haven't yet figured out how or what the antidote is for that fungus, but we see it even in our own community as we are also fighting.
Have you experienced the fungus, or is it an ongoing thing?
You see my comments.
I do, but I look at it probably more objectively than the comments. I don't really stay in the comments because I know you're educated. I know you're speaking on topics that people don't want to speak on, and you're saying them in a way that the construct of mainstream and the ecosystem of how the media works does not permit most folks to do. So I get that, right? I don't think the average person gets that though. Why do you think somebody who's mastered African American studies, who's clearly been pro-black in everything that you've done, so it's consistently in the surface, why are you consistently challenged?
Because I am consistency challenging. If I was out here just like being cute, no one would have an issue with me.
Right.
You know, I think there's a certain level of like, I think sometimes I'm misunderstood because there's this thought process for some people that like, if you benefit from any type of privilege, then you really shouldn't have to say.
Well, where's the privilege? Is it the education? Is it like?
I have a bunch of privilege.
Okay.
I mean, I have light skin privilege. I've had education privilege. Some might say I have pretty privilege.
But I don't think pretty privilege is a bad thing. I mean, if you're ugly, you just have to embrace that. Because everybody's not going to be cute. That's okay.
Jason.
No, because even when I was overweight, I still had a cute face. So when people say, "Oh, you're fat," I'd be like, "But I'm still cuter than you."
I mean, that reality is like, some things are assigned to you.
Yeah.
Right? So like people right now would be like, "Oh, you have celebrity privilege," but that's assigned to me.
Right.
You know, like I didn't seek that out. Like I didn't do a sex tape to get that. Like I didn't do some
You
Will
did
shit.
a whole dialysis commercial. Now that is what made you famous. I didn't even know you did a dialysis commercial at 8 years old, which we're making light of the experience, but you did a dialysis commercial. That's your claim to fame, at least around here.
No, I think that if you're somebody who challenges, then by nature, you're inviting people to challenge you. And it took me a while to just kind of be comfortable with that reality. Like, I used to really, like, take it personal. And Charlamagne would always just be like, I don't know what the problem is. Like, why? You always thinking that people... I have to do the list. He's like, you always thinking that, like, people's not going to say something. They're always going to say something.
Why, they're looking for a co-host at the Breakfast Club, another one. You wouldn't.
I live in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but you could go.
Baby, I have my own show.
I know, but.
I have my own show.
Okay, I know I got the Jason Lee show, but I would do the Breakfast Club. It's fun.
I'm in my soft girl era.
What is that?
The soft girl era is an era. It's an era of peace. It's an era of serenity. It's an era of chosen battles. And it's an era of like self-knowledge. And I'm just not at a point anymore where I really want to answer to people. So even though those are my brothers, it feels beautiful to be in a space where I'm the final decision.
Yeah. I always say independence or owning your own shit is just a level of freedom that, you can't buy.
It's also a whole other level of responsibility
Yeah.
and obligation. And so once you reach a point where you're able to balance that and it's not like taking you out the game, it feels very freeing. So at this point, I love that I can have the Amanda Seales show. I think there's also an excitement that I have in building up this show from the ground up and getting to see it grow from, we started in November in Philadelphia and already we're in 8 cities, and getting to see it grow based on like my creative vision, on my ethos that it's my responsibility to share information with my community. Like these are things that I think are just intrinsically Amanda and that I want to see develop. And if I was on the Breakfast Club, like I'm coming into what they've grown.
Yeah, and it's a format already set.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there would be an expectation of who you should be there versus you developing your own format and being who you are and doing it the way you want and being in full control. But isn't it, for the people who are watching, ownership of your own is not for the weak. It is a pain.
You will go through a hard girl era.
Yes. What was that? What was the hard girl era for you in developing the Amanda Seales show?
It wasn't really developing the Amanda Seales show, it was developing the Amanda Seales brand. And honestly, it took me up until last year to admit and commit to calling myself a brand. Because I was really
Just a year ago?
Yeah, because before it was like I'm doing stuff and I had Smart Funny and Black, and that was really my outward facing brand. And it was just like, ooh, my name? That's a lot. He's gonna put my name everywhere.
What was the fear that you had to own the response to it, or that it was going to define you in a way that?
I think if I'm honest with myself, it's a bit of both of those, as well as just it feels very narcissistic. Like it feels very like, I'm me, look at me. And so that is something I have ardently like run from, because I see so much in this town of people like living off of that, like thriving off of that, and it's completely empty.
Surviving off of that.
Yeah, and it's empty. Like it's pointless. It doesn't do anything for the world. I mean, I don't know where we go after this, but like while I'm here, I feel like we're supposed to do stuff for here. So I want to be like living in something real, and that just made me. I had this version of it that made me feel like it was fake, and I don't know. Like it took my team around me. It took like sitting around the pandemic. It took realizing that I didn't want to pursue the regular path of Hollywood in the way that I thought I did, to start considering just another route. And at the end of the day, it's like, who better to bet on than yourself? So put your name in the show.
Well, the reason why I created the Jason Lee Show is because who else going to host the Jason Lee Show? It's mine. And when you own your own, like The Real, we're going to get into that in a minute. When it didn't get real and it wasn't real no more, it's almost like they could shuffle anybody in, but chemistry is chemistry, real is real, but the Amanda Seales Show, you can't replace you with that. You can't replace me with that. And so for ownership, I wanted to create a space where I owned it. If it didn't work for you anymore, that means if I don't work for you anymore, this doesn't work for you. And I knew that if I believed in myself, that I would get the numbers and I would do all that, as I'm sure you do. So have you worked past that now where like it's all Amanda Seales or nothing?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I get it now.
Yeah.
And I know I also just had to have people like that I trust, like say for me plainly, you have established yourself not only within the marketplace, but that within yourself. You know who the hell you are. So why are you basing this on like what other people do? You know what you do.
So when you were doing Smart, Funny, and Black, are you still doing that?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so when you created that brand, the idea was to give us a platform to share space, to talk about and celebrate and have fun with the things that were important to our culture. Did you feel seen by mainstream? Not that that was a goal, but did you feel that you had an impact in that ecosystem that is important to driving more visibility to the hard work we're doing for our community?
Say it in layman's terms.
Do you feel like white people valued and respected what you were doing for the culture?
I don't care, so I didn't pay attention.
It was never important.
It's never been important, to the extent that when they wanted to invite different like execs to the show to
watch it,
I was like, they need to buy a ticket. You don't get a free ticket to come spectate us doing us. You're getting to come to the barbecue. Buy a ticket. And you need to sit
Let me get comfortable too.
And you need to sit in the audience. You're not gonna sit on the side in VIP and look at the blacks clap.
And sip on the free alcohol at the private bar.
When we get up and do the electric slide, you're gonna be uncomfortable. So you're just gonna let the people move you, because that's what we do. But like, that's how committed I am to. Now, like, I don't feel like that about my stand-up. Like, it's different. But Smart, Funny, and Black is very consciously created to be a safe cultural space for Black folks. And it is, on its surface, it's a game show. But at its depth, that's what it is. We've had so many folks come to the show that are Black and said, I just realized that, like, I didn't really get to really experience the full Blackness of my culture. Like, I felt like I missed out on some of these jokes because I wasn't really getting it, now I want to explore. I need to go watch Friday. You know what I mean? You're like, yes, Bye Felicia is from Friday.
I get it.
No, not,
I get it. You mean you wanted them to get it?
Yeah, because I think that there's definitely a push by a lot of folks, and when we see the effort being made by people like Ron DeSantis, by people like Governor Abbott, by people who are making this concerted effort to try to erase Black culture, Black history, that is in itself an example of just how powerful and how expansive our Black culture is, right? So when we do Smart, Funny, and Black, it is to keep that alive and to keep that energy pulsating, because I think it could very easily, we get drained. Like, I created Smart, Funny, and Black because I got tired of seeing just all types of negativity about Black folks, whether it's the constant onslaught of police violence, whether it's the constant onslaught of just our own communities, not having the resources to move outside of violence, racism, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, we need to have a place where we celebrate. Mm-hmm. So we can balance. Like, you come here, you come to Smart Funny Black show, it's gonna be like 2 hours minimum. It's like a revival / HBCU homecoming / cookout. You gonna have the time of your life. You're gonna leave sweating, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to get back in the game. Like, I feel like during the 60s when they were marching, like if they had Smart Funny and Black to like go to, they would have tried to bomb it. But our people were doing in church what I think we were doing, we're doing, which is like getting rejuvenated with each other's energy to like come back into the fight.
But inviting white people or mainstream in doesn't mean you have to sell out. Because as you know, when you're building something like that for us, you have a lot of support, but we all don't always show up to support Black, right? And I feel like sometimes when you're building something for the culture, it could only help to enhance the reach or the accessibility or the visibility of it if you do allow some of the mainstream brands to participate. So like, do you build it with the idea of making as much money as you can or make as much impact, or both? Because as a business person, I do look at the bottom line, because I'm in the business to make money too.
I compartmentalize. Mm-hmm. Some things are for making money. Some things are for making joy. Some things are for making joy by making money. Mm-hmm. I choose, how I want to place certain things. Smart Funny and Black has never been an entity that's about making money first. At the end of the day, we need to make money to sustain, and also so we can pay the folks who are a part of the show. Right. So I'll tell you a story. Like I partnered with Kevin Hart's production company, Heartbeat, as well as Jesse Collins Entertainment, and we were going to do Smart Funny and Black as a Juneteenth special. We took it out, we shopped it around town to a number of networks, and a network approached us and said, "Okay, we want to do it, but we're going to give you 225 cents." Right. And
because that's the reality people don't know, is that people will invest in the culture, but it's at the very low to where you can't even turn the lights on with that.
And so I was like, well, okay, this is their starting number, right? So let's like play along and let's, do the budget, redo the budget, like let's negotiate. They would not budge. They would not budge. They would not budge. And I had to make a decision because like Stan Lathan was going to direct, but they didn't want to pay his fee. Mm-hmm. How you don't want to pay the legendary Stan Lathan's fee? Right. And ultimately, if we had done the show, I would have been able to get it. I would have been able to get it on a network, and maybe that also would have then made my star rise, etc. But in that process, I would have had to ask Black creatives to do favors on Juneteenth. Right. For a Juneteenth special to air on a network that ultimately is putting millions into the pockets of white people, and whose millions I'm not gonna get they're gonna sell ads out the ass on this. I'm not gonna get a piece.
And there was no back end money or nothing?
They're not gonna give you the back end in the way that you should have the back end, because they already know. So I had to make a decision, and it was just a very difficult decision to make. I remember I was sitting on the back of a golf cart going to the set of $500,000 Pyramid when I got this call, and I had to just, say we can't do it, and then tell Strahan hello. I mean, it was just like.
Did you feel defeated?
Mm-hmm. And I felt defeated I at this point I'd learned I'll give myself defeat for a day. Mm-hmm. I'll give 24 hours of defeat, and it'll be like.
Is it because it's happened so much and now it's just like.
I play my sad white girl playlist. It's like Fiona Apple, Sarah McLachlan, Brandi Carlile.
Is it because it's happened so much, or because you just know it's a part of the process?
Both.
Because I don't think people really understand being Black, being creative, being an independent, free mind in this city is like the plague.
It's also dumb. It's impractical to be those things in this city. But if that's who you are, that's who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is it dumb?
It's impractical. So when I think impractical, I think dumb. It's like if you come into Hollywood I'm going to be as Black as I want to be, and I'm going to be creative, and I'm going to be creative. They're like,
slow down.
Relax, little lady. Relax, Blackie.
They don't say it, but they teach you by the way they treat your creativity.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so I, in practicality though, I had to start being more real with myself about like, what are you actually gonna do? And how are you gonna make this work for you in a way that doesn't drain you? Now, don't get me wrong, I was very fortunate to be on Insecure, which allowed me to have a certain level of financial stability that I think allowed me the opportunity to like get clear with myself. Not having bread and having to constantly be worrying about money for a creative, like I'm not a starving artist. I don't like that. It's always been incredibly debilitating for me. So when I finally got to be able to have a certain level of stability, it allowed me to be clearer about what do you actually want. And then I went through 2019, which was just a terrible and great year at the same time. But it let me know, like, okay, now that you've gotten all the things that people have said you're supposed to have, you got a special, you got your HBO special, I Be Knowing, you're on
Small Doses.
You got your podcast, Small Doses. You got your book, Small Doses. You're going on tour. You have a show, Bring the Funny, on NBC. You have all these things, but like, why are you not happy? And it's because for me, I feel like a lot of us put so much work into the grind that we're not working on ourselves. So then when you get the success, now you have time to find out, it's me.
Yeah.
And the problem is me. So, that hits you like a fucking can of bricks. I mean, a ton of bricks. I mean, life comes at you fast. But now I've gotten clearer in the fact that I'm just like, I committed myself to pitching shows for a year. I'm going to pitch shows. I'm going to sell these shows. They were like, ma'am, please. And it was like, oh, y'all don't want my shows. But I have great ideas. I have great shows.
But even though when you list all of those accomplishments, which are huge, a successful podcast, a book, being able to tour and have people come out and buy tickets.
A book in paperback as well. Let me just.
But I'm just saying, to be able to have all those accomplishments.
They don't care.
Because I was getting ready today, and somebody on my team asked me, have I celebrated, like, even getting here right now? And I haven't, because I'm so in the grind of what I'm selling next, what I'm doing. Do you feel like, did you not celebrate any of that?
No, I did.
You did?
I did celebrate that. There were bumps on the way that infringed upon that celebration, but I did celebrate that. But then I celebrated it. Then I had a nervous breakdown. Then we had a pandemic. Then I had a miscarriage. Then I had vocal surgery. Then I got back with my college sweetheart. Life just it's like bullet points of when I write the second book, y'all, it's gonna be crazy. But it's this, so I did all of that. And then I landed back at YouTube. Like this year, I'm investing in my YouTube because I was really looking at YouTube as like, oh, that's a good place for influencers. And then people started pointing out to me like, well, no, I mean, it's a place for people who like to like make it fast and get it to the people fast without having to go through these outside channels. And I was like, oh. And so then I expanded my podcast, Small Doses, to video, and then we have other content on there. And like, I'm investing in that space because it is my own space.
Yep.
And that doesn't stop me from also still dabbling and dancing in Hollywood. I just sold a show the other day.
Well, congratulations. There wasn't a role for me because I absolutely did not get a call to participate.
So the way selling shows works is that it will take 2 years for us to get to casting. But I'll keep you in mind now that I know.
Well, congrats. I mean, that's huge. But let's go back to something you said about...
That's huge, but also...
No, because you said something that I thought was profound as people that are in therapy, because I'm in therapy, I'm working on myself, where you realized that some of it was you. What part of your obstacles that you ran into did you realize or discover was your own doing?
So I really thought codependency only showed up one way, and then you start to realize there's like a myriad of ways codependency is showing up, like in you just like attaching yourself to situations that really aren't the best for you, like you misreading your separation anxiety as like some like messaging from God, or like some gut instinct. And it's
Everything
like,
is a message from God.
And then you like start to understand better, and you're like, oh, so I had that wrong. I would say I also just feel like I've had to consistently work on like the fact that how I deliver is not always how I intend. Mm-hmm. And there's only so much of that you can control, because like perception is personal. Like you just can't control how everybody perceives you, but you can at the very least be more conscious about like what is your actual like goal in this delivery.
What's your intention?
Yeah, what's your intention? And I think I've just always been like a very direct person, and I think I have a bit of neurodivergence just in the way that I deal with like social exchanges, and it's taken a lot of work for me to be better at like even bringing softness into how I deliver. Like I have so much love and I have so much compassion, but I feel like it ends up sometimes coming in as like, this is love, this is compassion.
But Judge Judy doesn't have that problem though.
Well, Judge Judy's an old white lady, and they've made it like, cool. She's also like not.
But
like,
what I tune in on my calendar every single day is a 4:00 placeholder for Judge Judy.
But like once I'm a 70-year-old like woman, you'll probably do the same thing for me. Like it's cute when you
But being young, black, smart, and a woman, it's not.
No, like Dick Gregory, like in his old age, was cursing everybody out.
Right.
Dick Gregory cursed me out.
Really?
Yeah, I cursed him out back, but he definitely cursed me out, and everybody was like, I mean, he's just Dick Gregory.
But why can't we celebrate real? Because real is rare, and sometimes the truth does hurt. And I feel like I am in my own journey of discovering delivery, because delivery does close some people's minds. But then you also want to make sure that the authenticity of what makes you Amanda
1000%.
Seals
Yes.
has to always be there too.
I just think that we do celebrate realness. There's just people that don't. And one thing I had to like really like hold my Instagram, like my social media following accountable for was like, y'all are letting the negative be louder than the positive. If you really rock with me, like y'all need to be just as loud, if not louder, when you see these people. Because I turned off my comments for a year because I was like, y'all, you don't deserve it.
Was it because of us?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like we're the...
Wait, because of who?
Black folks.
Oh, it was, I was like...
Not us,
who?
Hollywood Unlocked.
I was like, Hollywood Unlocked?
No, but like the
no,
comments...
you were actually pretty kind to me.
Yeah.
No, it was because of just folks. Like, I won't even just say black folks, but like people were just very disdainful, and the ethos for a lot of folks is like, oh, that's crazy, and then they keep it moving. And my thought process is like, if you see crazy, if you see terrible, if you see nasty, and you just let it rock, and you don't at least say like, hey, that's not cool.
Right.
You're encouraging it. You're enabling it. Mm-hmm. And we have this crazy wild, wild west of the internet, and I was just like, I'm not letting y'all in that space. And so for a year, the only people that could comment on my page were the people I was following.
Yeah. Oh, it gets real quiet on Instagram then.
I mean, there was enough response where people were like, let me in.
Yeah.
Let me in.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. You get to take that mental break if you change just a couple settings.
And then I brought it back, and it was a different energy. And I really have been thriving in a much more supportive base. There's still detractors, because there's always going to be, but I feel like there's a much more supportive. I feel like also I've just been here long enough now where there's like a larger audience of folks that do understand, like, oh, like you've been consistent.
Right.
Like
this isn't for play.
Yeah, yeah.
But did that happen when you joined TikTok? Because I feel like when you joined TikTok, that's how I would, because I have a TikTok, but I don't TikTok yet because I'm annoyed by it.
I don't.
But I love how you do your I love that you'll take an issue and put it behind you. And I don't know if you're driving or wherever. It's just your hair moving in the background and you're commenting on it. And I feel like I don't see a lot of people doing that. I know people do it, but I love when you do it because it's the that I'm thinking too and want to say. I just don't have the bandwidth to want to sit there and do it.
I mean, I've had to like make decisions in this process, right? Like, what are you going to make a part of your bandwidth? If you are independent, you're a independent thinker, independent artist, independent creative, you're going to have to find time to do stuff to support the efforts of your brand and of your work. And when like that became something that was like so small, but like also could be just so it adds to the consistency. Like even on my Patreon, the Amandaverse, like we understand that like those people that come to the Patreon either just have some extra change and support my work, so they'll like put the little $5 to it, or they're like really like, I want to hear everything you have to say. So we make an effort to like expand conversations there that we don't necessarily do on Instagram. Like I don't want to use I'm not going to talk about Meg Thee Stallion and Corey Lanez for free.
Yeah. Did you call him Corey Lanez? That's how uninterested she is when she gives a man a whole new name. Tory.
Blame it on Rock Nation.
I just met Jay-Z this past week. I'm trying to get into the brunch without sneaking in. No, I agree. And what I love about the Patreon, because we're joining there too, is that now you can feed the people who actually support you, who actually want to show up and actually want to hear what you have to say.
But all of these places become like, for an independent creative, like all of these places become like your storefront properties.
Yeah. But you use it just as distribution to promote everything else.
You use it for that, but you also use it to remind folks of like what you actually do. And I think for me, having the syndicated radio show now is the first time that I've ever been like backed by a larger company in my authentic voice. There've been larger companies that have been like, oh, like for instance, like The Real. The Real brought me on, I thought because they wanted my authentic voice, but like that really wasn't what they wanted, right? So like it didn't work out. But this is a situation where the encouragement, the support is almost, I find myself on a regular basis like, these people really like me, bro.
Right.
It's a black company, and even the white people at the black company know how to act. They know that they at a black company, you know? That's the thing.
Yeah.
The white people at the black company are like, we know we're at a black company, so we have a responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
So, see, this is why I like talking to people who talk, because y'all know how to segue. Because The Real, let's talk about The Real. I saw you at Kevin Hart's, I don't know, about barbecue. I don't know what that was.
It was a brunch.
It was a brunch.
They actually served food.
But Netflix paid for it. That was more than a brunch. That was at some mansion that overlooked all of Los Angeles County. You were there with your man.
Yes.
Lonnie Love was there. I never saw you two in one single frame together.
She definitely bombarded and got a selfie.
She bombarded.
She came up, was like, ding. I was like, all right.
So you didn't want to give it to her?
It wasn't that. It wasn't like we were conversing and then most people would be like, hey, you want to take a selfie? Like, that's what most people would do.
But she just got in and got to hitting because she didn't know.
Now, this is the part of the interview where Jason gets tricky.
No, I'm not.
This is the part.
No, I'm not. I'm just.
All up until this point, it's like we're chatting. Look at my socks. We're chatting.
Yeah, I got it.
This is when Jason's like,
I had to get comfortable.
Let's get tricky.
No, I mean, listen, if I had to be real. No, so I saw you at the barbecue, and I remember going up to you at the thing, and I was like, yo, Lonnie's here. She had just pulled me aside. I was surprised she spoke to me because I've been very, very vocal about Lonnie, or at least my perception of her. I said she was a mean girl, at least from watching her on TV and the internet. And then Lunel was on my podcast before, and she said she was a mean girl.
The realest
and I've known Lunel for like 30 years,
yes.
So like I don't know her to be a liar. So I just really didn't know what the whole was.
Actually, I owe Lunel a text. I need to hit her back.
So then I saw you guys at the barbecue, and I'm kind of sitting back, eating my chips or whatever, my hummus, watching y'all, and you're not in the same area, so I didn't know what was going on. So is Lonnie the mean girl that everybody says she is? Or at least everybody in my world says she is?
Adrienne and Jeannie are my girls.
Because the other thing that Lonnie said to me at the barbecue was that she respected what I've built because she's not been allowed the freedom to, and when you all are on this show, you guys were not allowed the freedom to be who you wanted to be or say what you wanted to say. I'm just kind of summarizing what she was saying. She's basically saying that like she respects the level of freedom that I have being an independently owned business to say and do whatever I want.
Can I be frank with you?
Yes.
I do not want to spend this lovely interview talking about Lonnie.
No, it's not all about her. I just want to know if like, is she the mean girl everybody says though?
That's not for me to sit here on this time to say.
So
I know that
if she comes in, you'll take a selfie with her.
In my soft girl existence, I am on a high vibration.
Got it. Okay.
And Jeannie and Adrienne have been emphatic supporters of me from day one at that show. And to the point where even when the show was done and there was a real weird omission of me, right? And people
in the end.
Yeah, and people were like, why Amanda ain't there? Why Amanda ain't there?
Was that erasure?
Yeah, a white, angry white lady. And they made it their business to take their time to do an Instagram live, to be like, no, that was not okay. And you need people to do that.
Yeah.
That we live in such a visual medium of a world. We live in such a gossip, fill in the blanks world that like you just need people to actually just do the thing and say the thing. And so many folks aren't willing to do that because of fear. Because of the fear of how it's gonna like maybe negatively impact them, or because of the fear of like what they're not gonna get. But that's really about their own insecurity of what they can actually control. And so I think that's what makes certain people mean girls or, fronters, it's fear. And I don't live in that kind of fear. I know that I'm protected by a higher power. And I know that I'm also like moving in purpose. I know that I come from a place of kindness. And even if that doesn't show up in the tone sometimes, or maybe people misread something, like that's where I'm coming from, and I know that. So I try my best to really just like associate at this point in my career with like the people who get that. You always see me with the same people, so that's why like you're not going to see me with certain people just not because I don't like them or because they funny style or whatever, but it's just because like they haven't established that with me. I stay close to the people that have established that with me, or who desire to like establish that with me. And it took a long time for me to just like be like realize that like that's okay. I don't need to be everybody's friend.
Right.
I don't need approval from all these people. It's a quantity over quality situation.
Thanks.
It's a quality over quantity situation.
Right. No, I understand what you mean. So when you say Jeannie's your girl, now she's married, has a baby, she's with Jeezy. She got the dark meat because she used to like the dark meat on the side. When you saw clips like that, as woke as you are, and that's your girl, did you have to take time to say, girl, you can't say you like the white meat with the dark meat on the side. Just say you like meat.
I think sometimes when you're in those situations on these shows, like you're really under pressure to like try and be funny.
Yeah.
And if you're not like an actual comedian who has like material prepared,
it could fall flat.
It can fall flat. Yeah. It can also like, you can just get in the moment. Like what we're doing right now is not even easy in itself. Like people may think, oh, like they're just having a conversation, but like there's an actual like
in real time strategic navigation to get through this conversation.
Yes.
Because you just, the soft girl approach to the whole Lonnie Love thing is definitely different than what I thought was coming, but that's great that you're standing in your truth and you gave her grace. And you don't always get credited for giving people their grace. That was grace.
I give a lot of people their grace.
I know, but you don't get credited for it.
I don't. Yeah. People don't understand that the reason why they don't know my side of things is because I'm being very misty, on point, graceful, okay? I'm giving a lot.
You're choosing to be smart, funny, and black.
Yeah, I'm giving a lot of grace out here. The way that I have been like lambasted by people with their just filling in blanks on situations, it's like.
So you said that Adrian's been supportive of Hollywood Unlocked from the beginning. Jeannie actually really enjoyed her, I like her a lot, and love her mom. And when I was on the show, they were nice to me. You didn't mention Tamara though. What was your relationship with her?
That's not my gal. But you're not. You know what I think though? Like that's not a headline. Just so for whoever's watching is like, oh, like that's not a headline. Like we all work at places and we like, this is my people. Like I go to meetings with them. Like like that's just what it is. Like it's very rare that you find yourself in a workplace and like everybody is your people. Like when I did Bring the Funny, we only did one season, but the judges on the show were Chrissy Teigen, Jeff Foxworthy, and Kenan Thompson. And I remember one day we had to come back for press, and Chrissy was like, I'm like happy to see you guys. Like this is weird. Like I'm happy to see the people I'm working with. And we were all like, I know, it's crazy. Like it felt so rare to actually genuinely like everybody.
Right.
So I think people have this like perception of TV that it's going to be different than a workplace because it feels glamorous and it feels like such a privilege to even be able to do it. But
you can have chemistry but not be friends.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
1,000,000%. You can have chemistry, not be friends. You can also just be workplace
Buddies.
folks.
Yeah.
You know? Now, do I have stories? Yes.
What do you think about how her husband treats her?
I don't know them
you haven't
to
seen
speak to
them?
that.
Oh.
I know that they were very upset about your statements.
Were they?
Oh, yes.
Really?
But
They actually saw what I had to say?
everyone sees what you have to say, Jason.
No,
But
I just said that I felt that he allegedly, in my own opinion.
we're not repeating it.
Okay.
Okay.
You can go Google it.
We're not repeating it. Because ultimately,
Well, I knew every time they pitched me for the real and I get rejected, I already knew what that was. But it's cool. I don't care. I just stayed on the outside and kept giving my real opinion. Because it gets real as over here.
yeah, that wasn't a platform for that. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I feel like that honestly, it feels so long ago at this point because pandemic years are like 3 years long.
Yeah.
So
Facts.
that ended in 2020, and the fact that we're already in 2023, that feels like.
The reason why I chose to bring it up because I when I talk to people, I don't like bringing up because we've already worked through it and you're in a whole different place with this soft girl energy thing. That is question. I'm gonna question that later because I don't mind if there ain't no soft nigga energy here. The reason I bring it up is because I felt like the real needed you. I felt like I felt like after Tamar left, it was kind of.
Who started following me on Instagram the other day?
Who, Tamar?
Hey, Tamar. We need to have a
Well,
tea.
Lonnie did tell me at the barbecue she wanted to have a moment with Tamar and asked me to piece it up, and so I did call Tamar, and she was like, "Absolutely, no." So that's not happening. But I did think that you were great for the show because the show started to feel like it was this fluffy thing that is what's existing now in daytime. But I have to say something. It was your extra interview that I live for, where you were standing there and that girl tried to play you in your face.
In my face?
The audacity.
Now, you're new here. I said, hold up now, little shorty. Now, come on.
Were you listening to every word because like when you're being interviewed, are you listening to every word to make sure that you catch it all? Because sometimes people won't catch it. But I watched you there. I was physically watching you. I've played it 100 times. Because I'm watching your energy, your body language. Everybody's body language next to you. And there's this clip online where they zoom in on people grabbing
That was me. I did that clip.
Did you?
Because it's funny, like to see Jeannie like grab my hand and like Lonnie like, oh, hold on now.
When she was playing you in your face though, what were you thinking?
This is playing me in my face. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
I mean, remember, I'm an actress. I'm a trained actress. So I listen. Like I'm trained to listen, right? So I can catch everything without even a lot of effort. I'm just listening, and I'm like, she real comfortable. Like she said the first little slide mark where she
did two. She did twice.
Right. She did the first little slide remark where she said, you're new here, and so
which for people watching was trying to put you in a place.
Very much so. This is their 1,000th episode, but you're new here, so you don't apply. I'm like, okay. All right. And it's like, you're new here, actually. And so she kept talking, and then she said, oh, Amanda, you and Jeannie have butted heads on occasion, and I had to cut. You need to cut it. Because that narrative, that narrative is very damaging. And it's also not something I'm willing to accept from a white woman. You're butting
damaging
heads.
because she's saying that to a black woman standing next to an Asian woman that you were bullying or being negative or in some way trying to paint this angry black girl thing. I mean, I catch it because I'm black. I don't know if everybody caught that.
That's what it was, though.
Yeah. But the fact that you caught it in that moment and called it out was like, wow. That's the wow that I really admire and respect because it's educational wow. It's not mean girl wow. It's like, hold on. Like, let me, you know.
That's the academic training, I feel.
Yeah.
Like being able to and address. Because that's what you're doing when you're writing papers. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, now I got to write a whole paper about this. Mm-hmm. And as a comic, that's what I'm doing, right? Like I'm picking things that I want to and talk about. Like I'm about to do my next special and I'm ready to talk about gun control. I'm ready to talk about Roe v. Wade. I'm ready to talk about Ron DeSantis. Satan. I'm ready to talk about all these things. I'm also ready to talk about, the difference between dating hood from the hood. I'm different, I'm ready to talk about a number of things, but like these networks aren't ready to buy specials. Right. So like I have to do my own special. Mm-hmm. Like I have to fund it and put it out because it needs to be pulled out and I need to talk about it. And I can't wait for that opportunity. I can't wait for that space that needs to be created to be based on like them. When I see shit happening, it's got to be like in real time and explained.
When Jeannie grabbed your hand, was that the industry training on control yourself?
No. That was Jeannie
comforting you.
Yes.
Okay.
That was Jeannie like, breathe. Yeah, like I know you want to box her. I know. Cause Jeannie's from the Bay too. Like Jeannie's from the Bay. Like she ain't no slouch neither. And that was her being like, because she heard it too. Yeah. Like we all heard it. Yeah. Because we're all trained to listen for moments so that we can
interject. Yeah. And so when you left the show, or let's back up. When you thought. This is going to
be a 2-part interview.
Did you? No, no, let me tell you, we put 44 minutes on Revolt, we put the whole thing on YouTube, and the YouTube goes crazy. We just, Laverne Cox was 3 hours. We'll figure it out. So you've done all the work, Smart, Funny, and Black, Small Doses podcast, book, the tour, you had all that success, and then you get the real. Was that your thought that the mainstream ecosystem will take you where you want to go? Or was that just another job?
I've talked about this in other places, but I had an epiphany in 2012, I think it was, 2013, when 12 Years of a Slave came out, and I went and see 12 Years of a Slave, and I came out the theater, and I was like, oh, I'm done with this mainstream. Like, if I can't be as black as I want to be in the space, then it's not a space for me. And that was that. Like, so I left the idea of like wanting mainstream approval at that point. But what the real meant for me was I had been on social media talking, and it was like, oh, now I get to do this in like a real place, right? And there's an audience and there's a machine behind it. And so I think it like made me feel validated that my commentary like needed to be on a bigger platform. So I think that's more so what it was. And it was also like, remember, I had been on Insecure for 5 years, 5 seasons, playing a character. And so it was also like enticing to me to get to be myself. It was the
validating for me. That's what I was saying earlier. I'm not saying that we need to be validated by mainstream, but it's almost like because you are such a powerful voice in the culture, you're pro-black as and you support everything black, that when the mainstream gives
I'm gonna tell you what it is. I'm gonna just stop you right here. You have your self-worth and there's your market worth. And those two things are not always aligned.
Yeah.
And there's certain stuff that you end up having to do to elevate your market worth, certain credits that you have to do, certain dues you have to pay. I've known who I am and my capabilities for a long time. But in order for the market to know that, I had to achieve certain accolades. And The Real was one of those things. So now, even though I've always been talking about these things, well, now she talked about them on a TV show, though. So for the people who read the market versus just you as an individual, they need that. And that's a lot of what happens in this business.
When you left The Real, did it impact your personal like your own independent wealth or what you thought or felt about yourself? Was there any...
In a positive way.
In a positive way.
Yeah, because
you walked away.
Well, because I walked away and I stood on mine. You know what I'm saying? And like, I didn't, there wasn't a brash decision. Like I had gone through a process where it was like, okay, I've given fair space and time for this place to respond to the things that I have acknowledged are problematic, and that hasn't been the case. And so, now I'm going to not renew my, like people, like even though I said this before, like we did an interview right after and I said this and people were like, she's lying! Because people can't imagine turning down a check.
Or that platform.
I was gonna say,
because,
even greater.
Because they see their own value in being acknowledged or validated by that.
I don't even knock them for that, but they have to understand that I'm at a point in my career though, where I'm very lucky to be able to be like, nah, I'm good, and know that my bills will still get paid. That wasn't always the case. And so when it came to that, I was just like, they asked, can we have an extension in deciding to renew your contract? And we said no. And they were like, oh, wait, let's go talk to the exec. And my agent was like, no, we just spoke. That was the conversation.
That's crazy, but not really.
Also, shout out to my agent. I love Matt.
Is this not Matt at ICM?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say because
What's funny is that they have the same name, but
Really?
it's mad at CAA.
Okay, let's speak about Insecure. You were on Insecure 6 seasons.
5 seasons, 6 years.
5 seasons. What's your relationship with Issa Rae now?
We don't have one.
You don't talk?
No.
Okay, because I've invited her here, and I'm in this thing where I'm trying to figure people out. I've invited her to the Hollywood Unlocked World for 4 years. She's never come. And then I ran into her at Diddy's house, and she said she never got the memo from Vanessa, which I know Vanessa's just an evil old woman, and it's her publicist. And so then I said to her I was going to ask again. I've just asked for her to come on the Jason Lee show, and I thought I was just going to ask you to ask her, but if you're not friends with her, I won't ask you that.
No, we're not friends.
Okay. Was she insecure? No, I'm just playing. I'm just being funny. Let's move on. Comedian, where do you get the courage to, first of all, I know you went to college and got your master's degree in African American Studies, but where did the drive to be masterful in all these different lanes of the industry come from? Because being a comedian is different. It takes a certain level of courage and confidence and drive to continue to get up there. Mm-hmm. You've been able to be successful at that and turn out crazy audiences to come out and see you. Author, writing, I mean, clearly you're intelligent. Like, where did you get the drive to be masterful in so many different lanes?
I mean, I think part of it is just like by necessity. You know, if you don't want to be controlled by others, then you better be busy creating spaces that you can control for yourself. Mm-hmm. For some folks, that can be all allocated into one streamlined area. For me, it ended up being across multiple mediums. And I feel like I'm a true artist at heart, where it's like when the opportunity would arise to like try something else, it's like, oh, okay, let's see. Like, you know, at a certain point, it was like, oh, you should try DJing. Like Beverly Bond was like, you know music, you should do DJing. I was like, okay, let's do DJing.
You did that?
Yeah, like DJ Envy like took me and like haggled so I could buy my
But were you the DJ that like put your music all together and then you just went up there and you were acting like you were playing?
No, I have technique. No,
because you could do that.
No, you're right, but no.
Because if you ever see me,
but you should know, like, I don't allow myself to claim a title unless I do the thing.
Okay.
Like people keep saying, like, oh, Amanda, like you should direct, and I'm like, because that's like a real thing,
yeah.
And I don't want to be the person who's just like standing behind a camera and saying like, yeah, that looks good, and calling myself a director.
If you see Jason Lee, the DJ, I've pre-recorded the whole set list, and I'm pushing buttons and dancing to some that I already made. Yeah, like,
no, I'm blending. Like I have my 1200s. Like, yeah.
So do you do it now? Do you still do it?
You know what? I DJ'd a party last year. Shout out to Victor Duplay, and he said that people were asking him like, "Yo, can I book Amanda to do a party?" And I had to make a decision. Like, are you gonna bring DJing back?
Yeah.
But I don't like the music of this era enough to want to.
Right. I feel like if you were doing a Prince and Michael Jackson set.
Right. Like I would love to have a party that I do like once every quarter. That's called Nothing After 05.
Right.
That's the name of the party.
The 90s, the 80s.
Nothing after 05.
Yeah.
You're not gonna hear
no
Lil
TikTok
Uzi,
rap songs.
Lil Baby, you're not gonna. You're not gonna hear
Listen.
none of that. But like DJing was a thing that like to your point though, it was like it came up, the opportunity like arose for me to try it, and then I was like, oh, I really like this, and then it's like once I like it, I've got to master it.
Right.
So that's how the trend goes.
Yeah.
Once I like it, I've got to master it. And stand-up was one of these things where it was like I'm looking at the landscape and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, and I was like pivoting out of hip hop, and I was like, I don't know what I am. Mm-hmm. Like people are like, you do so many things, but it's like you don't do anything. I'm like,
you're the jack of all trades, but the master of none.
Which is like not there's like another line to that actually. So it's like people actually like.
But I hate that whole line because it's almost like you have to only master and be known for one thing. But when you're a creative and you can do it all.
People who made that lineup are people who are like only good at one thing.
Right.
You know, and they're like, how dare you be good at 2 or 3 things? But for me, I looked at Chris Rock, Chelsea Handler, and Ellen DeGeneres, and I was like, all of these people do what I want to do, which is I wanted to build a multimedia moguldom based on my point of view. That sounds really tiring now, so I'm fine with my little mini enterprise. But
it's not mini. You have books that you have podcasts that turn into books. Books that's going to turn to movies. You just sold a show, so you sold the show. That's now to be executive producer and creator of a show that's gonna, I'm sure, employ black people, create black opportunity.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not little. Why would
It's
you
like
say?
that. It's like that TikTok where it's like, it's not little business, it's big.
Yeah.
It's big. Stand up. Stand up.
Well,
Yeah.
and you brought up Ellen, so let's talk about Twitch, because earlier you talked about suicide and having the thoughts of suicide early on.
Well, let me just finish that thought though.
Okay.
I had looked at all those people and was like, they all have a business model that I like, that I want, but they all did something that I didn't do. And it was like, they write books, I write books. They can host, I host. They act, I act. They do stand up. Ooh, I don't do stand up. And in like sciencing that, I realized like, if I can do stand-up and do it well, then it means I'm a comedian, and all of these things now make sense. Individually, they didn't make sense, but as a comedian, people are like, well, you could host, right? And you can act, right? And you can write, right? When you're just doing those things without that heading, it's like people didn't know what to do. So that helped me to like find a clear umbrella for like all of these things that I wanted to do, and it also helped me find my tribe. Because all this time I thought I wasn't likable, I thought I didn't like people, and then you meet comics and you're like, oh, I'm just a comedian.
I'm one of you.
I'm one of you.
Why people don't like comedians? Because they're funny, or because they?
No,
'cause they have
comedians don't
opinions?
like people.
Got it.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of patience for people, especially people who aren't funny. We're like, oh my God, what's the point?
But you all seem to have patience for each other, though.
Because we're all crazy. And we understand our crazy. That's why, like, I cringe when people introduce me as an actress before a comedian, because actor crazy is different than comedian crazy, and I'm a certain brand of crazy. I'm a comedian
So actor crazy is Will Smith, comedian crazy is Chris Rock.
Yep.
So that makes sense to you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Got it. It's just crazy. Okay, so so going back to Ellen and Twitch. So you look at Twitch, seemingly the happiest man on earth, got the family, got the kids, had the great show, platform, lots of love. My Facebook was flooded with every dancer who knew him and loved him, and then he just takes himself out. What did you make of all of that?
I mean, there were people that were making all these conspiracy theories and whatnot, but I know that when I had my nervous breakdown, it was the morning of an episode of The Real. And I cried my way to that stage. Like literally it was like, this is our time.
While the music's playing?
Yes. And I got my ass to that table and I did a show. And nobody knew that inside I was having suicidal ideation. I had 3 cornrows, which is what should have told y'all something. That's when y'all should have been like, something ain't right.
Ready to set it off like Cleo.
And that was the day that I had made a comment about Jussie Smollett that people are still like, I can't believe you said that. But I know as a performer, what a lot of people don't understand is that when you are a performer, it's like any other skill where you become so adept and so proficient that it doesn't require all of you to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a lot of people who have jobs that, like, they can sleepwalk their way through the whole job, you know? That's what ends up happening as a performer. Like, Twitch could have done all that and still in his mind been in hell. And he can smile because that's a part of the choreography. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. I know that because I've done that. I mean, I remember when I was doing a one-woman show called It's Complicated, Hilarical Answers to Serious Questions on Love. The whole show was about relationships. I was in a breakup happening at that exact time. I'm literally off stage like, and they're like, coming to the stage, Amanda Seales. And it's like, hello, you know, like that's what it is. And it's not that you're being fake, it's just that this is your purpose.
Right.
And the other part of it I think people don't understand is that there's also a joy that you find in doing that work. So you can have full joy in doing that work and still, when it's done, go back to the darkness. And so, you know, I won't say that I didn't know Twitch well. I knew him as an acquaintance, and he would comment on my videos, and I had the pleasure of, you know, doing an interview with him on Ellen. And, you know, I just think that for a lot of us, we just don't feel like we're valuable enough to stay. And then for some of us, it feels like this isn't valuable enough to put yourself through. And I think there's something to be said for some people were saying like, well, he has kids, da, 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 and I cannot speak for that man, so I'm not speaking for him, but I will say that like, if you are in a certain level of depression, you are not thinking rationally. I have a friend who is bipolar, and she said, you see, the difference between me and you, Amanda, she said, the difference between me and you, Amanda, is that you have a rock bottom. I don't have a rock bottom. She said, I'll just keep going and going and going, and then that's when you start self-medicating. That's when you start cutting. That's when you start doing all these other things, because it's like the depth of the darkness just keeps enveloping on you, and you're trying to figure out ways to manage it. She was like, you have a rock bottom that you will hit that stuns you or paralyzes you, but you don't go deeper. And she was like, I have to take meds to give me a bottom, or else I will kill myself. And I think people just don't really understand that also we're humans. We're like so wildly complex. Like there's no two of us that are the same. There's no real like story that's exactly the same. And you just try and figure out like how to make it through and what makes this life valuable for you. And that's why I don't like when people judge suicide when it's done, you know, for reasons that we don't know. Now, when it's done out of cowardice, because you don't want to face the consequences of harm you have done to other people. Like, you know that guy in Charlottesville? Remember those Charlottesville pictures? There was a guy with a tiki torch and he was like this?
Yeah.
He just killed himself.
Wow.
He killed himself because he got caught with 15 kilos of fentanyl trying to cross the border into Mexico. Now, he was obsessed with Nazis and being a racist prick, right? But when it came time to face the music for being a drug mule, he killed himself.
Because he was scared. Right.
But he had no problem trying to invoke terror into the hearts and minds of Black folks in Charlottesville, North Carolina, as they walked and trampled over the unmarked graves of slaves who had worked on the plantations in that town.
So
good to see ya.
Don't miss you. So when you had the suicidal ideations, where was that coming from? Was that just life, pressure, social media?
I think in 2019, I had two things happen that really like with my concept of what this world is and like my role in it. One was that I publicly spoke to a man who many women had come to me and said was problematic. I just had someone come to me the other day, by the way, to be like, thank you for sharing that. I know that you took a lot of heat for that, but he also did some wild shit to me, right? So that was like, I was getting death threats, like, then you had like people jumping on this bandwagon, like Amanda Seales hates Black men. Then this guy with this website, he created a headline that said Amanda Seales admits to lying about being sexually harassed by a Black man. Like, I never said that the person sexually harassed me. I also never lied, and I also never admitted to lying because that couldn't happen, right? And at the time, what I should have done was sued that for defamation. That's what I should have done. But the people around me were like, no, it's gonna go away, blah, blah, blah. And to this day, in the comments of this video right here, there will be somebody who's like, isn't that the woman who falsely accused it? Because then the narrative turned into Amanda falsely accused a Black man of rape, which...
Well, the internet takes its own run on things and creates its own narrative.
And then makes it true about you. And, that's something I would never do. There also was just this narrative of like, Amanda did this because she's a scorned woman. It's like, please, get the fuck out of here. So that happened, but it was like, it brought me to my knees. Then after that was the whole Emmys party where I was forcibly removed from a party because your best friend...
It was Issa's party.
No.
Insecure, no?
It wasn't Issa's party.
But it was Vanessa, I think, that had
Vanessa had me removed from the party by security guards because she didn't like me. And that was the reason. She told me
Vanessa's a
that.
Black woman, by the way.
Yes, she's a sister. She said she didn't like me and that's why I was removed from the party. I was invited to the party by Jesse Williams. Shout out to Jesse. And like those two instances, though, like really shook me to my core because I thought that these were like, I thought I was doing the right thing on the first one, and I was completely blown by the misconstruing of what I did. And then the second time, I thought I was in a safe space. And I was like humiliated, and people watched it happen. And I was humiliated in front of Black Hollywood, who I thought I was a part of.
Right.
So it was
because you were on one of the biggest shows with.
And at the time I was on Bring the Funny, and there was a billboard the size of a building like 2 blocks away. You know, so like I'm like, this is prime time happening, you know? And so those 2 things shook me to my core. They really like broke my confidence. And I think what a lot of people, what a lot of us do is like we base our confidence on like validation from outside. And you don't really realize that that's what the case is until like it can get crumbled. And so then when I went to the real and I wasn't treated kindly, it was like a straw that broke the camel's back. Like I think had I not gone through like all these other things, like I may not have responded the way I did, but there was just, there was a lack of kindness. There was a lack of honesty. And I'm like, I know there's people watching who are like this, like dishonesty, like with me, like in a real like way. And I think I just started to like feel like, oh my God, like I'm back in a f***ed up situation. Like what am I? And I just started to feel like I had lost control. And I think what happens with some of us is that when we feel like we lose control, it just feels like, well, then what am I doing here? And I had reached a point where I was just like, well, if I'm always going to feel like this and it's not going to feel any better, then the logical thing to do would just be to cut it.
Did you have a support system? Because I feel like people look at you as very strong, very fearless, very transparent. So most people wouldn't see through that to see vulnerability.
I mean, I cried for like 24 hours. Like, I mean, you can't like not see that. I mean, I do have a support system. Like I was able to call my homegirl Delise, who like worked on the same lot, and she just like came and sat in my dressing room. Like I told my assistant, put my mother on a plane. And my therapist was like, what's happening here is not as deep as you think it is. And I was like, how could you say that? But she was
deep.
It feels deep. But she was like, what's happening here is really that your confidence has been shattered. And it makes you feel like you don't have a place or purpose. And what we need to do is build your confidence back up. And we need to do it based on real things. So when we did that process, it was based on like, why do I love myself, not why do people love me?
That's I'm gonna clap it up for that. Because self-love, that's the journey I've been on, and that's that. Until you master that, or at least work to getting that, everything else isn't gonna even make sense, and it's not gonna be real. It's
just also, I don't think it's really sustainable. I think that's why so many people end up, you know, abusing drugs and alcohol and other things, you know, because it's not. This life is hard in general. It's completely uncertain. The only thing you can count on is you.
Yeah.
And then if you don't know you, then what are you actually counting on at all?
Well, if you don't know you or you don't love you, then you let you down too.
Oof.
Okay, so look, I got a gift for you right here on the side. There should be a package. You see it right here?
Oh.
What? Our gifts are safe. It's the peeking to observe what's in there for you.
I already know where you're going with this.
What? It's a black mermaid. Where am I going with this? Where?
I be knowing. They came for me. And look. If you know, you know.
Well, this gift is sponsored by DDG. Not necessarily. But no, of course, you know, one of the times
look at this stuff.
You went viral for
Isn't it neat?
Commenting about Halle Bailey.
Wouldn't you think my collection's complete?
Halle Bailey.
Wouldn't you think of a girl?
Anyway, so no, we posted you on Hollywood a lot when you sounded off about.
First of all, I didn't sound off. Like I was making
you
a joke.
Sounded off. That was sounded off.
I didn't sound. No,
that wasn't sound off.
No, you know the difference between a sound off and me being funny.
Let me set the stage. Okay, you went.
Me being funny.
You went viral because, as you know, we have the first black female mermaid for Disney, Halle Bailey, who we love. Her boyfriend DDG, he's a rapper, young rapper. He was being interviewed and he said something about thinking that racism had ended when Martin Luther King died, something like that. And you sounded off.
I did not sound off. I literally, by the smack of my gum, you can tell that I am joking. But basically, I was just like, girl, you got to break up with him. You got to break up with him. And, you know, one thing I will say is that all jokes are 60-40. It's just a matter of which percentage is joke and which percentage is real. Nonetheless, I didn't get to see like the complete interview, and I'm not sure if he was, if he like gave her as much support as I think, you know, I would have wanted from my man. But everyone was like, oh, like he's being sarcastic. You should be able to know sarcasm. He was a valedictorian. Like he obviously knows this, da da da. Now I'm somebody who I will tell you, I'm somebody who, I just feel like certain things in certain spaces, you can't joke like that because they don't really know.
Everybody's not reading that room.
Like, they don't really know. That being said.
Let me say his comment. What he said was, and for folks who missed this, I don't know how you missed it. She was getting slammed for being a black mermaid for this Disney movie that's iconic. And she's a beautiful girl.
Yes.
She can sing her ass off. She earned it by hard work. She's maintained her morals in class and whatever. And so, when she was getting slammed by everybody, her boyfriend, the rapper, went on to say, I didn't know people were this racist. I didn't know this. I thought it was gone already. I thought it was gone. I thought Martin Luther King canceled this shit out. That's crazy. That's what he said. That was kind of crazy. But then you commented and you basically told her to leave him, and then he went on to say he don't know who you are.
Okay.
And now, as you've seen, the headlines are that allegedly he's been in some other girl's DMs after we were all just together at a party. And I don't know if she was there, but the girl, I did see Ruby there and I did see him there and I didn't see them talking, but it's now come out allegedly that he was in her DMs trying to go home with her. And everybody on the internet is saying break up with him, but everybody ain't mad at them like they was mad at you.
Yeah. Most importantly is that Halle's in the middle of this.
Yes.
And that to me is the part that sucks, right? Because ultimately, even when you're a public figure, you really don't want to have to deal with like this publicly.
Right.
And people think that because you're a celebrity, it's like your responsibility to have to deal with things like this publicly. And it's like, baby, I'm not an elected official, okay?
Right.
Like, I don't owe y'all that. And so I think that for me is like just watching a young sister who's in this business, who's like coming into her own, and then she's like publicly out here with this man, and now she gets embarrassed. Like, it's just, like that's a, like,
It's a sting that it should not be stung.
And now it's like everybody's talking about it. And it's like, I don't care how strong you are. I don't care what your support system is. You can feel when everybody's talking about you.
Right.
And you want your partner to protect you. You want your partner to protect you. So like, I don't want for anybody to think that I'm like reveling in the I told you so. Because that's not what it is. I think it's, I did judge correctly. 40% of my joke was like, but you know, I think that's part of the growing pains also of being a young person, right? And I think for both of them, right? And he's got to keep on the face, right? Because I see him posted, like people keep sending me the post, people keep tagging me like, Amanda told y'all. I'm like, y'all have to also understand, like I'm grown, like I'm an old lady in this. Like y'all trying to come in my DMs and you 18, 19. I remember one came in my DM and was like, you single.
Wait, after you did that?
Yes, you single. I was in Toronto, like doing stand-up for Just for Laughs, and all of a sudden my DM, I like look at my DM, I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, you single. That's why you ain't got no man. And then, like 20 minutes later, I had sent another message with a picture of me and my man, and put, he's lying to you. He doesn't love you for real. I was like, yo.
Wait, is that why you keep Vontae private?
Devon?
Yeah, I mean you post him, but like.
He doesn't like, he's not that kind of person.
So like there's no, you guys don't do the matching. Like,
of course we do.
You do the matching.
Like in our house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not for the gram.
We didn't do it this year. I mean, it's not even that I like try to like keep him private as much as like I respect his wishes that he's not like a out here kind of person. And I remember when we first got back together, I had posted a picture that didn't show his face. And another site, like a gossip site, like posted found pictures of him and posted them.
Right.
And I I DM'd them on the side, and this is somebody I had an acquaintanceship with, and I was like, hey, like, can you take that down? Like, I purposely didn't post his picture. And he was like, you know, basically like, how dare you? Like, you are a public figure, and I have every right to post whatever I want about your life. And I know that Hollywood Unlocked is in that realm, but it's like, there's a whole business that's now been made on like other people's lives, and there's not enough regard that I think is taken for the fact that like, it really is a human being you're talking about. Like, it's a human being you're posting about, like, and there's certain people that like want that. They want that smoke. Like, they like calling the paparazzi, come and see me. Like, they really like, they thrive on that. They believe that all press is good press. But other people are just trying to live and do their craft, and this celebrity thing ends up being like a side effect of it.
I have opinions about that, but we're gonna get into that later.
What's your opinion?
No, we're gonna talk about it later because it's a part of our games, right?
Oh.
Isn't it part of our game? Okay, so you and Devon, is it Devontae? Devon. You all were together, broke up for 5 years, then got back together, right?
No, we were together in college. We broke up for 20 years, and we got back together.
Were you together for 5 years? So 5 was never a number.
We didn't talk for 5 years before we got together.
For 5. Okay, but you were separated for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then got back together.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm battling this whole I don't want to be single thing, which I don't even know if I don't want to be single, but some days I don't. Last night I did, and today I'm fine with it. But I have this rule, and I think sometimes it's the rules that f me up, that I will never go back. Like if I've
It's a silly rule.
Is it a silly rule?
Have you changed? In
No.
your life, have you changed?
Well, I've changed.
So why can't other people change?
So after 20 years, and now you're happier than you were before.
I mean, we were 19.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say that it's like all roses and cupcakes.
But no relationship is.
Right, but people think.
Yeah.
But I will say that like we both went through like our own life journeys, and we stayed in touch that whole time. I mean, it wasn't like he was completely off the map, but he got married. Like he lived a whole, like he changed careers. He went to the Navy. He has a daughter. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And you know, but he's a incredibly gifted producer and audio engineer. Like, I mean, he found himself in that time, and I found myself in that time. So when we got back together, it's two different people coming together than we're together, you know, in our youth, but we still have that ability to at least say that like, I've been able to see that this person has, it's like their roots are the same, but I've seen the blossoms change. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. People also have incredibly life-changing experiences. Like someone that you knew before they were married is gonna be different after they were married.
Thanks.
Someone you knew before they have a child is probably gonna be different after they have a child. Someone you knew that had like an injury or maybe like went through like a near-death experience, they're gonna be different after. So, and this is the main one. Someone you knew before they went to therapy.
That part.
So my number one question when we started talking again was like, did you go to therapy?
So when did you guys get engaged?
We're not engaged.
Oh, I know.
But
I know there was rumors that you were. I was just wondering.
Y'all would know if I was engaged, because I'd be like, I'm engaged.
I didn't know how to ask if you were, so I just.
I don't care enough about that.
Reverse engineered the answer.
I see you.
Do you want kids?
No.
At all? That was a conscious decision you made?
Yeah, I mean, at first it wasn't, and then I got pregnant, and then I thought like, oh, I guess this is God telling me like, this is what you need to do, and then I miscarried, and I was like, I guess God is like, okay, not now, and then as I thought about it, I was like, maybe not ever, and then I was like, did what everyone told me to do, which is freeze the eggs, so the eggs are frozen, and then as time has gone forward, I'm just like, yeah, I'm really cool with this setup.
Oh, you know what I want to ask you is, I recently have been developing this relationship with Vice President Kamala Harris. What can she do, or what is she not doing to connect to the culture or to connect to us? And what do you think of her performance?
It's a really multi-layered question, because I think there is an unfair expectation for her, because she's a black woman, that she's gonna like defy what we've always seen from vice presidents, which is not much.
Right.
Like we don't really have like a real track record of seeing vice presidents like be out here like that.
Right.
You know, like when Biden was vice president, we just saw him like jogging with Barack. Dick Cheney, we didn't see much, but he was the one pulling the purse strings and pulling the puppet strings, you know. But there hasn't ever been like a vice president that had like popped out. But I think that because she's the first black woman vice president, that we're thinking like, oh, well, this time though, she's gonna need to, because so many black women got this man in office. So there's gonna be an exception this time. And I think I think that was kind of unrealistic. Now, I don't know what she's doing behind the scenes, so there's that, right? It's not like he comes out and says like, shout out to Kamala Harris who had us do da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
So we don't know I don't know what her involvement is with things that are coming across coming across through the bills, et cetera. Now, I do think that this administration has outperformed my expectation of them, which was very low, right? I just wanted them to not be worse than Trump.
Right.
Which to me is like,
which is
not that hard.
Right.
And like people will tell me like,
don't be a complete failure.
Yeah,
Just
like people are like, oh, Amanda Seals told us to vote for Biden. And it's like, listen, like there's no version of looking at Biden's like track record at this point in this presidency that says that this was a failure. Like it just hasn't been,
Well, why can't people get that?
Because it's easier to then create a failure narrative. And we live in a world and in a nation where people are stuck in a scarcity mindset and not an abundance mindset. And it's much easier to come from that place, because when you come from that place, I think that you can kind of, it's easier to control that like, oh, there's less. When there's more, it means that you have to give more. And I think for what it's worth, Biden has faux pas, and he's also an old ass white man. Yeah. And he also has a history that is not positive. So it's like, how do you divorce that history from this present? And you kind of, to a certain extent, if you're just acknowledging someone's presidency, you have to. Like if you're just going to look
talked about even with Devontae, like people change and things change,
things change, and the world has changed, and this man lost a child.
Right.
Like that's going to change you, So I do think that there's a certain level of credit that he can be allowed to have for simply just having done things that we just didn't expect to happen, right? But when it comes to Kamala, I mean, listen, when Kamala said this ain't a racist country, she lost me, and she ain't got me back yet. And not that matters. I'm just little Amanda. She the one in the White House. But child, that one right there.
Well, we all know we're in a racist America. She has to know that she's in a racist America. Do you think that was her speaking to the hopes of not wanting to live in a racist America?
She can't do that.
Right.
We have shooters that are going into places and killing people because of their race. And then we're not calling it domestic terrorism. We have an entire culture of police that are killing black people and getting away with it because the law says they can. We have a country that was 1,000% built on the foundation of racism that now legislators are trying to pretend didn't happen and are getting that through and doing it on an education level and on a DEI level. You cannot, as the second in line to the highest form of office in this country, make a message on hope. You, in my opinion, is particularly not just as vice president, but as the first black woman vice president, and who got there and who got this man elected largely in part because black women like myself were like, let's do what we always do. Let's show up. You can't get in there in that position and then make such an egregiously false statement.
Not to mention we watched white people climb up the Capitol and try to overthrow the government and stop an election.
I couldn't remember if that was before or after, but.
How does she fix that?
My bad.
Acknowledge it.
My bad. I said that because I hope that we could be in that space. But in the reality of where we are, it is simply the truth that this country is operating from a space of racism that is not. This country is operating from a space of racism that is deleterious to its ability to advance equally for its people. And, people are like, oh, the system works. For who? For who? Like, but you have to remember, Kamala was also a DA, and she called herself the top cop.
There's nothing wrong with being a top cop if you were policing.
There's no version of policing that's good policing.
Wait, let me say this. As somebody who got shot, when I hit 911 and the police showed up, I was happy. Because when people say
But you know what? You were lucky.
Wait, I was happy.
But you were lucky.
And you know what? If they would have came and shot all them who shot me, I would have been happy. Shoot them all.
But
that
they
one
probably
too.
would have shot you too. I think that at the end of the day, like, we all want to feel protected, and there are situations where the police show up and do that, but there's just far too much of that's like the anomaly. Like, there's far too much of a culture that says that they don't have to do that.
Right.
That's the part.
Well, I understand the evolution of slavery and policing and prisons and all of that and what it represents. I don't know what it would be like to live in a world without the police, and I do believe there are some good police out there. But I think policing in general, clearly, I know what community I live in, and nobody looks like me in my community. And I know if I was out there pushing the trash, they wouldn't come and think that that was my house. I've seen white people come to my house and go, "Who live here?" In fact, ask me, where the owner of the house at? Like, this is all mine.
There are no good police. There are good people who happen to be police.
I'll take that.
But ultimately, I don't necessarily think that we need to live in a world that doesn't have some sort of law and order enforcement. But I think there needs to be, I know that there needs to be a drastic reimagining of what that is, and the understanding that there is a multi-pronged approach to community safety and building. And if you are not pouring in the same resources into a community to protect itself, then how are you gonna need, then no wonder you're gonna need all these police to come in here.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with somebody who was talking about them crafting the whole movement, defunding the police, and how they just up on the messaging and lost people. I mean, I understood the intention.
Yeah.
How do you think we bring that back, where we talk about the pouring into communities the way that you're saying now?
I think we just keep doing it. I mean, there's so much of change that happens in this country is just by like beating folks in the head. And then essentially you do it so long that the generation that comes after doesn't even know a world that didn't have that messaging. And now they're like pushing it forward. I'm gonna tell you, the fact that what happened at Michigan State, Michigan State, that there were, I think, at least 3 students there who've been in other
school shootings.
Yeah. Like, that's beyond my scope of comprehension. One from Sandy Hook, and the other 2 were from Oxford. And I just
And I think people just have to start to accept the fact that that's white America. Like, that's the America we all live in, but that's the America that they create. That's the America the beautiful they sing about. That's the America that they've allowed to be acceptable. I mean, Sandy Hook, with all those little kids that got murdered, you would have thought that there would be outrage from everybody.
Everybody, melt your guns down.
Yeah.
Turn it into a Game of Thrones. No. I mean, this country is delusional. This country itself is narcissist. It's narcissistic. You know, when narcissists, they are unable to improve themselves because they are unable to take critique. And if you can't take critique, then you will never advance because you can't acknowledge the thing that's wrong. That's this country. And until there is a genuine effort, this country never culturally agreed that slavery was bad. Like, culturally, that's not like a bottom line in this
But I also
country.
feel like Black Americans aren't outraged enough consistently to make the type of progress we need to make. You know, like, I'm not waiting for a leader to show up and tell me to go get mine. I'm not waiting for the 40 acres in the mural to believe I can have my own ownership. So I just feel like when I look at the problems in the world, or I look at a school, or I look at what's happening in Florida, or even the conversation about women's control over their own bodies, stop looking at the president. Look at who is in your community, who is in your state, who's your leaders that are making these, voting for this.
Conversation around local voting, really, I feel like got much more amplified in this last election, and then we saw it in the midterms. This is the first time that
you
the
mean
midterms.
with the local mayor? Here,
well, just local elections in
Okay,
general,
okay.
right? Like, I don't feel like people were really talking about local elections,
No.
right? And now it's become a narrative because the people need to know.
Right.
And also, we have to do everything in our power to devalue the concept of your vote doesn't matter. At the same time, it's also pointing out that the Electoral College needs to go, right? So the conversation around voting is, a lot of people feel like it's a yes or no. Wasn't it Puff who at first was like, don't vote? And I'm like, shut up!
And then it was vote or die.
Yes. Well, that was first, because I was there for vote or die. I got the shirt and everything. But
oh yeah, and then he came back and said, don't vote.
And I know that in his mind, maybe in that moment, it just felt like we got to stand our ground.
Don't give your vote away, but you have to vote.
Well, you have to vote, and we also have to understand that there's a process. So, like, by the time we got to Biden and people are like wanting to take a stand, it's like, well, baby, we had primaries and debates, and we ended up here. Like, we needed to have started this process a lot earlier. Like, right now, we're starting to see people announce their run for the presidency. This is when we start looking at, like, oh, do these people look interesting to us? At the same time, it's more important, to your point, that we are looking at who our governors are, who our state senators are. You have a nation that is really making an effort to put all the power in states' hands. So that means that your state senators, who are the people who are determining the laws of your state, are more important for you to vote for than anyone. Your governor, who's the essential president of your state, is now more empowered than anyone. Look at DeSantis. He has turned Florida into a whole fascist.
Florida is a mess.
It's fascist land. It's not Disneyland, you know? So it's the Satan land. Like, it's crazy. And I'm from Florida, and I'm watching it.
And they're saying he could be running for president.
He's absolutely going to run for president. And I'm hoping that they're going to eat each other alive. Him and Trump.
No, they're going to, him and Trump, yeah. That's going to be it. But I also feel like politics became like a reality show where after Trump got canceled, we just stopped watching TV, and life is still happening. Like, there's still stuff happening in the world.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, like I end up getting on a soapbox when I talk about this, and I know that's like, that's another thing I'm trying to work on, like the messaging around this, because I end up getting like very, and then people are like, oh my God, the pitch that she's hitting the pitch. But there's so much effort being made specifically to keep Black people's votes down. And on a basic level, if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't care. Like, that's it. And it's going on right now. And to your point, like, once Trump got canceled, you know, it was like, oh, so we won. We did fine. We made it out. I will say I was very happy to see how much people were paying attention to the midterm elections. I ain't never paid attention to a midterm election before.
Right.
I was watching that gritting my teeth. I was like, Super Bowl, midterm election. So.
Is it because you became more interested in the whole process, or? I
became more interested because it no longer made sense for me to live in this country and not be. Mm-hmm. When I see people saying like, I don't care about politics or I don't vote, I'm like, do you live in Sweden? Because if you're here and you're not doing that, you're essentially saying, I'm gonna let these white people make the decisions about how I live my life.
Right.
I don't know why people think they're like standing up, but it'd be different if, to your point, there was like a whole like movement that said we're all going to do this way. There's a plan. Like, when people say like, I'm not gonna vote, I'm like, but what's the plan?
Yeah, like, then what are you gonna do?
I just wanna know what the plan is, because if there's a plan, I'm curious. But I know that for me, I still believe that there's a multi-pronged approach to change. We are not at a point where enough people are unified for there to be a true revolution. So we're still in a reformist mindset. And until we get to that point, this is where we're at.
What do you think about that the congressman who snuck his way into the...
George Santos?
Yeah.
You mean the queen?
Wait, she said she's Jewish, like Jewish. And still is in there now walking around as an active part of Congress.
She is a representative of what they're all about, though. The GOP, the Republican Party.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, no, this is George Santos. But
no, I'm just saying all these crazies.
Yes, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, who definitely like did some sideways with minors, and the case was dropped today. Like, I can go on and on and on about how all of these individuals are out of their minds, and also like actual like terrible people.
Yeah.
But
because people aren't paying attention to the local and state process, they made their way in.
There's that. There's also gerrymandering. You know, like Marjorie Taylor Greene lives. She's like in a district that's like completely white.
Right.
Like, people don't even know that in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi, an all-white legislature. In a city that is, I think, over 80% Black. I think it's like 86.2% Black in Jackson, Mississippi. An all-white legislature just decided that there's now going to be a district that has its own all-white judges and cops, et cetera, within Jackson. So that means that the black folks are gonna have one set of judiciary situation and the white folks are gonna have another set. That's what that's saying. This is apartheid.
And it's happening right in front of us.
It's scary to me because I don't know what to do. And so many of our icons of change, Angela Davis, Nikki Giovanni, they're getting up there in age, Harry Belafonte, et cetera. So like we're now gonna be the ones.
Right.
But then, we saw those students walk out of that high school in Alabama, and I think we always end up having to come back to like, it's gonna be the children who lead us.
You think it'll be Shaun King?
I don't know her.
That's that on that. All right, let's play these games.
Okay.
All right, this is the most fun part of the show that everybody says is messy, but it's not me. I just put it all in the games. This is a game called Name Drop. Now, you know everybody.
It's already messy. By your tone.
No, it's not.
By your tone.
I promise you, I'm working on myself. Okay, but here's what I'm not working on. The game, and it's messy. All right, but look, you're known by everybody and everybody knows you. This is a game where I drop a celebrity's name and you have to say the first thing that comes to mind. And you're the perfect guest to play this game. First thing that comes to mind, or a funny story you have, or a moment that you wish never happened. Okay, so the first person, Kanye.
Oh.
Well, not Candace Owens. First thing that comes to mind with Candace Owens and Kanye.
Meds. I don't know her.
I'm laughing at the I don't know her part, but don't you feel like, is there any space to ever forgive Kanye again?
Well, there's always space for redemption, I think, to a certain extent, but you have to acknowledge your error of your ways.
Mm-hmm.
I know about that man on a whole other level, though.
Yeah.
So, because I know people that worked for him.
Yeah.
And I know that he doesn't treat the people that work for him
that way.
In a kind, like he doesn't have regard for them in the way that he should as an employer.
What'd you think about the selective outrage of canceling him for the Jewish comments, but not canceling him for the White Lives Matter comments?
I think that what was interesting is not the word, but what was frustrating for me to see was how many black people had no problem with either comments.
Right.
I'm not surprised by the selective outrage. Like, at the end of the day, there's certain things where you'll be like, wow, that's up. And then when it's about you, you're like, oh, I'm up.
Right.
So, like, I can get that.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen us more as a black community of media, of people with platforms, et cetera, be adamant about the White Lives Matter of things, because at the end of the day, like, I don't expect other folks outside of us to ever show up for us. I never expect that. What I get upset about is the way that we don't show up for us. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a collective outrage about the White Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. I was upset, but I didn't see like places being like, this is not okay.
Right.
Like, I didn't see like
you didn't see Adidas dropping for that either.
No, I did not see Adidas dropping for that. And that is also the reality of who has power in position and who is also afraid of other backlash, et cetera, et cetera. But I think we always act like we're not in this like racist ass country. Mm-hmm. Like, why are they gonna get mad about White Lives Matter? They're like.
And Candace Owens has to be the biggest joke you've seen in the last 10 years.
I don't know her.
Hilarious. Okay, next person. I forgot he was on the list. Shaun King. You don't know her either?
Not well.
Okay. Next person. Jussie Smollett.
Ooh, Just. Rough time.
Yeah. I like Jussie.
I don't know what actually happened.
Yeah,
I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah, I didn't see the manifest of
People
Africans
took a statement
Chicago.
I made about that and like really ran with it, because I said if his goal was to like do something that would out the police department for being negligent to LGBTQIA plus rights and black folks, then it's noble, and then it had a noble cause. And people were like, nothing about this was noble, and I'm just like, you can have a noble intent and still do some dumb shit.
Yeah.
That's what I was basically saying. Like, you can be like, okay, so I got this. Okay, so this is the plan. This is what I'm gonna do. And then someone else, you tell people, and they're like, nah, that's stupid.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Like, I get where your heart is.
Right.
God know your heart.
Yeah, the judge didn't care about the heart though. I wish him the best.
I wish him the best.
He's a good person.
He's also a brilliant creative. Like,
Yeah.
he really is. And I, have always been shown love. I remember I went to a Puff Daddy house party, and it was in the hills, and like they were like, take an Uber. So I took an Uber there, but then like, you were in the hills. There's no service. Like, I could not leave this party.
Right.
I couldn't leave. I was trying to leave.
Right.
I was trying to get out of there. And I remember standing outside, just like, I must have looked forlorn, because then Jesse was like, hey, where you going? And he was in an SUV, and I was like, anywhere but here. But it wasn't like shade to the party. It was just time to go, And he gave me a ride.
But I also feel like cancel culture there's a disparate application of that too. I feel like accountability culture, he's been held accountable, move on with life and let him be great.
I would love to see that, but he's gay.
Yeah.
So they're like, we can't let that ride.
But I feel like the gay blacks are more embraced than the not gay blacks, no? Like Lil Nas X, if Lil Nas X, he did the whole devil shoe and he's still shaking and twerking on stages where white folks built.
I think amongst black folks.
No, amongst black folks, yeah. Oh no, like Fox, he ain't going back to Fox, but he can go to BET Plus.
I don't think so.
No?
I think black folks are harder. Black folks as a community, our homophobia issue is bananas.
I agree.
Like, if he was a straight man who did this, people would have got over it and let him back in the game.
Okay. Next person.
Whoa.
No, I mean, look, I think that, I'm black and gay. I feel like for the gay blacks who don't show up as a reality star's token or handbag or sidekick or whatever, wearing, no shade to y'all that wear heels and makeup. But I just feel like we're more than that. Like, you play into the narrative of who they want us to be and what they want us to look like, and then get mad when they find us easily disposable. I don't know.
Oh, I'm not a gay black person.
Yeah.
But
that's a whole other.
I was gonna say, I don't think there's a playing into a narrative. You're being yourself.
But you're playing into the narrative that mainstream wants to perpetuate about our community. For example, Frank Ocean was a black gay or bisexual, I think he's gay, artist who was phenomenal, who was an amazing.
So you think every like feminine presenting gay person in the public sphere is doing so to perpetuate?
I don't think that when you see a black gay man on television, he looks and sounds like me. They all look.
Is it fair to say that it's not a monolith?
Absolutely, just like being black isn't. But when the purse and the strings are controlled by mainstream, and that's what they want to perpetuate, that's what they put on TV. I don't see a lot. There's a whole bunch.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. You're saying that there's a
a
very small version of what they consider black gay to be, and they will put that up. But
it's like a black film has to be slavery, has to be man in prison or smoking weed.
But is there something fair to say that if someone is living their truth and it just so happens that their truth aligns with their lie?
I'm okay with that. But at some point, you have to start saying, like you talked about earlier, let's open up the space.
You know what this sounds like?
For every. It's very similar.
You know what this sounds like?
What? It's not gay on gay hate or gay on gay crime.
It sounds. It echoes the. It echoes like the internal color issue of black folks, where it's like we're blaming the wrong folks.
Okay, next person. Caitlyn Jenner.
Ugh. So many words. Why is she wearing a black shoe with this dress?
I don't know. Her fashion game
like,
is
why
not
is she wearing
the
a
worst.
black pump? Like, if you're gonna do all this work to be a woman, show the up. I'm like, come on.
She thought she was gonna be the governor of California. She thought she was gonna be the governor.
She thought she was gonna be the governor of California. Talking about, I was in my hangar. My word for her, idiot. Idiot. Money don't buy you intellect. That's a fact.
Or good fashion.
Or a good heart.
Okay, next one. This is my favorite. Terry Crews. You know, I called him a coon on Wendy Williams, and they came for me. I didn't know that was like a bad word.
Who came for you?
Well, they did.
Who's they?
They.
Really?
They were like, I can't believe you said that. But there are people that are cooning. So like,
yeah, I mean, he's pretty cunified. Like if he saw me somewhere, he wouldn't come talk to me. Like
he doesn't like you.
I don't know him, but if he knew how I felt about him, he, you know. I don't. Okay, again,
Wait,
I don't know him as a person.
What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Cool.
Okay. I love Amanda.
I can only go off of, I don't know him as a person, so I'm only speaking to like what I've seen of
what
him.
He's done to Gabrielle.
Yeah, and there's just been, there's so many opportunities to like show up in these spaces in a supportive way that when you make it your business to go like out of your way to not do it, you're just like, who is this for?
Right.
You got a black wife, you got black kids, like what are we doing?
Well, he says that NBC is not racist, so he's showing that America's Got Talent to make you believe that America's not racist.
You took a road with that one.
He
was like, I'm going to set a course and y'all going to ride with me.
I landed it. All right, next game. Let's go to the next game. This next game is called Erase the Shade. So if you've ever said something shady or said something that's come off as shady, you now get to either stand 10 toes down in your truth or you get to erase the shade. All right, so this was the first thing that we found. You posted, for a lot of fans, TV shows are who's in front of the lens, but for the employees of them, these shows are the corp studios productions that run them. Addressing the way they perpetuate predatory capitalism, racism, etc. is not attacking your fave stars, it's challenging the system we work in.
I mean, I feel like that was...
It's self-explanatory.
Very eloquent.
And I think you spoke to it today. And
yeah.
And I think it's educational, so people understand like what you see on your TV screen. There's so much more.
So for instance, like when I was talking about the real, like people like took that as like I'm talking about like Tamara and Lonnie and Adrian and Jeannie, and it was like, but I was very clearly speaking to the leadership.
Right.
But like, you know, even with like Insecure, it was like, people just take silence or they just take things and run. But ultimately, like if you are working on a show and you have an issue with things that are taking place through the like leadership of the show, that's not you like talking about your co-star. That's your coworker. You're talking about top brass.
Right. Okay, so we're staying on the mic. Okay, next one.
I'm so like.
Y'all telling me I'm gatekeeping blackness for not breaking bread with coons is today's comedy.
Yeah.
What coon were you talking about?
Oh, June 15th, 2022. Sky is the limit. I don't.
Could have been any coon. Okay.
But I don't even understand, like, because they were like saying that I should, they were basically saying, there were people saying that like, I should be willing to talk to people who are anti-black because they're black. And that me not being willing to do that is gatekeeping blackness. And I'm just like, where do y'all come up with these things? Like, what? The Simone Biles mental gymnastics needed to make that make sense?
So they're saying basically you should have interviewed Diamond and Silk.
Yeah.
Craziness. Okay.
Even Trump didn't interview Diamond and Silk.
At all. Is she resting in peace?
I don't know where she landed.
Okay, next.
I wonder if they buried it with the wig, though.
Stop it. Next one. I love dance music. Also, this Drake album sounds like if Canada made Juneteenth ice cream.
Yeah. Just
this is comedy.
Well, you know, you can't be funny.
Right, but you're funny. Do you think people, because you do so many things, they can't get the comedian part?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Whenever I show up as a comedian in a space that's not like me on stage telling jokes, people are like, sit down! Go talk about Biden!
That is crazy. All right, next one. By the way, for anyone saying she's bitter, she's masculine, she's angry, what I actually am is a comedian raised by a Caribbean woman and groomed in New York. You're interpreting my identity based on your feminine predilections.
Predilections.
That's a big word. I
Vocabulary.
almost said predictions.
I stand on all of this. This also from like last year.
Yeah, but
there ain't really nothing from last year that I'm gonna switch up on.
We just found a lot of shit that's just real shit that you said that
fair.
we don't want you to erase.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay,
I don't
cool.
want to erase it.
All right. Well, maybe this next one. This Wale just moonwalked onto the stage. I'm always amazed at how much women like him. He be rapping though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me tell you a story about this tweet.
Okay.
Because I thought about it yesterday.
Did you?
I did.
Oh.
Rest in peace to True Boy, the Dev of De La Soul. I sent this tweet while I was watching De La Soul perform on stage at the Roots Picnic. I was hosting. and De La Soul are my favorite group to see live. Like, I will pay money, like, I gotta take a bus, like, what do I gotta do? And I was hosting the show, and Wale was performing, and I hadn't seen him since he had gotten, since he went from the transition of like underground MC to like sex symbol. Like, I'd never, like, cause that's not how he came out. Like, he came out in ACG boots. Like, when I first met Lauren, like, we were both rapping. That's what a lot of people don't know. I was a whole artist. Like, I was rapping. We was in like ciphers and shit. And then we saw each other in a restaurant, and he was with a woman, and I said hello to him, and he snubbed me.
Really?
And he did not speak to me. And then we were on BBM.
Wow.
And I was like, why are you not speaking? And he just didn't respond. And that was that. And I don't like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we never spoke again. And then the next time I saw him was this. And we had been cool prior to that. And the next time I saw him was at this show. And so when I said this Wale just moonwalked onto the stage, like, that's how I talk. So that's not like a diss. Like, I'm reporting to you all, this Wale just moonwalked onto the stage. I'm always amazed at how much women like him, LOL. That is me saying, because I had never seen him be a sex symbol. To see Wale have panties throw on the stage was like, when did I was so used to seeing dudes in.
It was that song with Miguel. Had to be.
Lotus Flower. Yes. But you need to know that, like, I had always only contextualized Wale as like rapping to an audience of dudes and Scullies and Bubba Gooses.
Yeah.
So this was like, wow. He be rapping though.
Have you seen him since his tweet?
Well, then he came on stage and tried to fight me.
There?
In response to this tweet.
Wait, oh, so you were live tweeting while you were hosting backstage?
So we're on the stage. It's a picnic. It's a festival.
Yeah.
So there's no backstage. I'm on the stage.
Yeah.
And he came on the stage, and I was sitting on a speaker like this, and he came and was like, I don't like that tweet. And I was like, I'm watching De La. Leave me alone. And that's why I was thinking about it, because we just lost the Dove, plug 2. And so he like ran off, and I'm back, you know, and he comes up again, but this time he came between my legs and got in my face and was like, you need to take that tweet down. And if I'm being honest, I don't know what he was saying, but he was in my face.
Really? He's always calm when I see him.
Well, this had made him upset. So he was in my face with his finger, and I was in the process of raising my hand to knock his hand out of my face, which would have inevitably created some sort of skirmish. And my man at the time was standing, like, you know, they have like the barriers on the side of the stage. So he was standing on the side of the stage. So when he came up the first time, I had turned around and he just went. So I knew he had seen it. I, to this day, don't know how this brother got from there to here. I don't know. He must have flew, he must have flew on the wings of Ben Franklin. And that man got from where he was to the stage and yoked up Wale, like, from the back of his shirt. Like, as I was about to start a fight in the middle.
You were gonna slap Wale?
I was gonna slap his hand out my face.
Yeah.
And any physical contact is gonna start something.
Yeah, of
right?
course.
So the hand was it was right here. It was right here. And I was about to go like this. And before I could make contact, dude said, boop, and pulled him off to the side. And he was like, this would never happen in DC. And he was like, yeah, but we in Philly.
Damn. So then what? So then did you guys ever?
So then Karen Civil.
Wait, hold on.
No, Karen Civil was like.
You said that's a bad word around here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have anything
She
bad
paid
to
a
say.
hacker to delete Hollywood Unlocked, but we're still standing.
I don't have anything bad to say about Karen.
I do.
Karen was like, because then he started tweeting about me.
In real time?
Wale started tweeting about me and was like, Amanda Seales is irrelevant.
While the music's still going and you're still hosting
Look at me now. Amanda Seales is irrelevant, you know, all this stuff. And it was just mayhem. And then, of course, because he has a really big following, like, people are DMing me, and people are like, this is on Twitter. So this is back when I was really on Twitter, not Instagram. And people are tweeting me, and I'm going to fight you. And if you come to DC, I'm going to take you out of the game. And blah, 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 blah. And, like, you know, it was just like a really wild thing. And so it was public. And so Karen was like, I want to organize like a
Meeting.
A meeting, yeah, like a mediation. And I was like, okay, because to your point, I keep saying to your point, because like you said, I really do not want, I don't actually want conflict. I'm just not gonna run from it.
Yeah.
And so we had planned to meet, and then he canceled last minute. I haven't seen him since. I've never seen him since.
Do you want to erase the shade?
No, this was not shade.
Oh, this wasn't shade.
This was not shade. Like, this is how I talk. Wale just walked on the stage. I'm always amazed at how much women like him. LOL. He be rapping though.
All right, the last one. Western society has mistakenly taught that celebrity equals accessibility, but don't get it twisted. Just because folks have made a business out of minding other people's business does not make it okay, or better yet, your business. I've coined the phrase that everybody's business is my business. So when I saw this, I thought it was funny. But you're gonna stand 10 toes down, as we talked earlier about your boyfriend who was like, they try to put his information out, whatever.
I just feel like there has to be some level of ethics, you know, and it's like very sketchy in this tabloid world and in this gossip world, because you're literally making other people's business your business, and it's not based on reporting. It's not based on you know, getting, like, I've had so many times where like people have like made comments about something I've done or said, but like they could have just reached out to me and gotten like a quote or like some sort of source, and they just didn't. And they ran with it, and it ended up like really negatively affecting my life. So I don't think that I think it's really like weird that y'all do this.
Yeah, but you know what? I always say to people, who's the problem? Is it the comments who can't get enough of it? The people who, you know, most times need it to survive, because if we stop talking about people, they literally just go away, or their fails. Or is it the celebrity who can't accept the fact that they are a public figure, and because you're a public figure that benefits from the public, we have a right to digest your personal life?
Well, I think there's a difference between being a celebrity that benefits from the public and an artist that's giving work to the public. And I think the personal life part of it is like some y'all just made up. Like, I have access to your personal life. Like, that's some y'all just made up to make this whole business make sense.
But if we knew that Santos wasn't Jewish, but he was Jewish, wouldn't that have kind of probably changed public perception?
That's investigative journalism, because that is an elected official who is lying.
When I'm looking at what Blueface and Krishana's doing, that is journalistic investigation. I'm sorry. I
just think that, and actually that's great that you bring them up, because they are actively pursuing your attention. Yeah. It's when it becomes less of investigative journalism and more of invasive journalism. That's my issue. Yeah. And I think, you know, I think it's great that you created the Jason Lee Show, and like people can come in here and like speak with themselves, and you can ask the questions face to face. And that says a lot about you also being like, I'm not gonna hide behind, you know, the internet or the blogger at all. Like, I'm gonna say the same to your face that I'm gonna put up here.
I'm gonna Amanda Seals you. I'm gonna tell you what I think.
But I just think it's not, I mean, people are gonna be like, well, life isn't, I just don't think it's fair. Yeah. And I think that there's not enough regard for the fact that particularly Black media outlets really benefit so much on painting the conflict and the negativity of Black folks. And I get it, but it really is like.
But that's where I think we'll probably disagree. Well, I agree. Let me agree first. I agree there needs to be a balance. Like, there needs to be fairness. You should always be fair. You should always be balanced. And I've learned in some of my unfairness to be more fair. So there's that. But I do feel like when Black celebrities say that Black media is that, the way you just painted us, I think that is because oftentimes Black celebrities are striving for mainstream affection. Not maybe not you, but most of the times. So they leave the world of Black media, and the only time they get their attention is by reporting on things that they don't like. Then all of a sudden, here they are, ready to talk. And, you know, so there's this weird thing that's happening where I feel like if the Will Smiths who was more invested in Black culture, Black media, and Black interviews.
Yeah, like I saw Jonathan Majors the other day, like someone was trying to like get him off a carpet while a Black media outlet was talking to him, and he was like, no. But
look at how he's being celebrated on the cover of Ebony. Yeah. You know, we know the real and we know the not, well, we don't know, we know the real. She know the real better than all of us, and she just told us about Lonnie. Y'all just have to pay attention to details.
Stop. But let me say this though. Tabloid has always been a part of the thing. Yeah. But we also have to acknowledge like the ways in which that has been like really dangerous. Like Princess Diana, you know, like why'd you have to hold in a laugh?
Oh, because I killed the queen. Remember when I posted that the queen died and she wasn't dead? Well, they said she wasn't dead.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, there was a whole gasp of air in the room. You know, it's not a thing. Like, yeah, I said she was dead.
She hadn't died yet? When did she die in relation to when you posted it?
It was like 5 months later, but allegedly. Oh, no, that was the thing.
Where did you get that news from?
I can't tell you the name.
Oh, someone like gave you
like a real source, yeah.
Oh, so you feel like she had actually died earlier than
Black
what they
Twitter
said.
now has said that she was dead 5 months before, but I'm saying that I'm gonna just leave it up to God. Whatever her will says, she don't have a will. Because if she had a will, she would have returned them blood diamonds they stole from them Africans.
She don't even have to pay taxes on them blood diamonds because of the rich tax that they have over there. But you know what? Hey, this has been a blast.
This has been fun. The Amanda Seales show is it almost everywhere? Where is it now?
So the Amanda Seales show is currently in Philly, Houston, Toledo, Ohio, Muscle Shoals, Alabama, Charlotte, North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, and Columbus, Ohio.
And you're actively selling to other markets?
Yes.
So to keep growing, and then...
Yes.
And they'll have to listen to a strong, educated, independent, free mind, free-willed, and honest Black woman.
Yes. And you can also get it every day wherever you get your podcasts. So.
And then you have a show that you just sold that you'll come back and tell me about casting, okay? And then what else is going on?
We got Small Doses Podcast, so you can get Small Doses Podcast wherever you get your podcast. You can also watch Small Doses Podcast on my YouTube at Amanda Seales TV. And we also have other content that I'm putting there, as well as like Amanda Reacts, where I react to like Black 90s moments and things, because I'm a cultural connoisseur. And you can also check out my Patreon, The Amandaverse. So that's for all like the extra level. You're like, oh my God, like I need to hear more. I want to support more. Come on through. Smart, Funny, and Black is also my live touring show. So we will be in, I'm not sure when this airs, but we will be in Los Angeles at the Novo on May 18th. We gotta have you on Smart, Funny, and Black.
I'm smart, funny, and Black. For real.
Yes, you are. Yes.
But you just gave me a little gem too, because I've been thinking about stand-up comedy, because I'm really funny. I really am, but it's like cancelable funny. So they're gonna wanna cancel me, but I'm gonna do it to see if they can do it.
The one thing about stand-up is that you have to remember it's an art form.
Yeah.
I think some people think stand-up is just like a live podcast, but it's an art form.
Yeah.
And like the frustrating part for me with T.I. was that he came into stand-up treating it like he had a right to it because he had been so successful as a rapper. But I feel like at the end of the day, you have to come into every craft with a respect for the growth that has to happen in that way.
Yeah, for sure.
And so to bring it all the way full circle, when you were like, you do all these different things, I claim all those different things because I started from the bottom, I worked my way up, I had respect for those crafts, and I was able to eventually get to a level of mastery.
Okay, well, I'm down to come on Smart, Funny, and Black if you'll have me.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
great. Let's
definitely. So, go to amandaseales.com, get your tickets. Also, we have merch available again, so people are very excited about that. So you can get your Smart, Funny, and Black merch and your I'm Not Hostile, I'm Just Passionate merch, etc. So we've got a lot of stuff going on that really is, at the end of the day, about being an independent artist.
Listen, and let you be a true testament. Let this whole conversation experience be a full testament to people out there that want to pursue their own dreams and their own passions.
Be yourself.
You don't need anybody but your true, authentic self, and time, patience, hard work, and be dedicated.
It's true.
Well, thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me. Oh, you know what I'm also going to be doing?
What?
I'm going to be writing a monthly article for Ebony Magazine.
Really?
Yes.
Listen, that's amazing. Is it a column?
I wrote an article. I've written a couple articles for them. I wrote an article about Tyree Nichols and the system of policing in the country, and they asked me to write articles every month about whatever Black things I want, and I feel like it's important for me to put things in writing, not just in the Wi-Fi.
Well, listen, they should be honored to have you, because I feel like with the rebrand they're going through and really wanting to reach Black audiences, especially millennials, who better than to talk to you, who's talking to all of us?
Ta-da!
We out of here. Peace.